Catherine Hayes's boot struck the dying man's chest before thought caught up with instinct. Not a kick, a test. His rib cage rose beneath a worn leather fell, rose again. Around her, Copper Creek stood frozen in judgment, 20 souls watching a father collapse in December snow while his children screamed. She'd buried too much already, buried things that shouldn't fit in graves so small, buried a husband alone because the town called it God's will. She'd be damned if she buried this man while his kids watched. Not today, not ever. The snow fell silent that Montana morning, the kind of cold that turned breath to crystal before it hit frozen earth. December 18th saw territory still raw from wars both finished and ongoing. Catherine stepped from Marsh's general store receipt for timber nails, crumpled in her fist. She'd timed it perfectly. Get supplies, get out, avoid the Sunday church crowd and their endless capacity for judgment. Then the scream cut through winter air, a child's scream, the kind that strips pretense from the world and leaves only animal terror. The nails scattered across boardwalk planks rolling into cracks between frozen wood. Across Main Street, two small figures knelt in mud where snow had melted to brown slush. The boy shook a man's shoulder with desperate hands. The girl couldn't be more than 6, her voice raw with the kind of fear that imprints itself on memory forever. Catherine's boots hit street dirt before conscious decision formed. Muscle memory from too many emergencies, too many moments when hesitation meant death. The man lay face down where he'd fallen. She knew him. Thomas McKenna rancher, 4 miles south. Widower, 2 children. Worked himself like a man trying to outrun ghosts. His wife had died 3 years back. Childbirth complications. The kind of death women whispered about in corners, afraid their own bodies might betray them the same way. A crowd formed, safe distance, watching. Someone help him, Mrs. Marsh's voice carried from the store carefully modulated concern that required no actual movement. Ain't proper. The whisper came from somewhere in the gathering mass. Widow woman touching a strange man. Catherine dropped to her knees. Mud soaked through her skirt, cold seeping into bone. 2 fingers pressed to Thomas McKenna's throat. Pulse thread thin but present. Nin burning hot despite December cold. Fever. High one. The kind that killed. She pointed at the blacksmith. My wagon. Now. He looked to the others seeking permission from collective judgment. I said now. Her voice cracked like winter ice breaking. Sharp, final. He moved. The boy stared at her with eyes too old for 9 years of life. Eyes that had already seen too much loss. What's your name, Daniel? His voice shook. Is my papa? Not if I can help it, son. The little girl grabbed Catherine's sleeve, fingers desperate. Please don't let Papa die, please. Catherine met those eyes and saw herself at 6. Saw every loss she'd carried since. Every grave she'd stood beside alone. Every night she'd woken to emptiness that never filled. I won't, child. I promise. The blacksmith brought the wagon. Together they lifted Thomas McKenna. Dead weight. Fever made him heavy muscles slack with illness. They laid him in the wagon bed. Daniel climbed in without being told, cradling his father's head. Emma pressed against her brother, small body shaking. Catherine gathered the reins. A man stepped forward. Tall, black suit despite December mud. Victor Blackwood owned the bank. The store, half the town. His wealth showed in tailored cloth and polished boots that never touched dirt long enough to stain. Mrs. Hayes, his voice carried oil-slick smoothness. Taking a man to your cabin, unescorted, that's highly irregular. That man's dying. Nevertheless, Blackwood's smile held no warmth. People talk. A widow's reputation is fragile. Surely you understand. So is standing here talking while he dies. She snapped the reins hard. The wagon lurched forward. Behind her the crowd murmured. Fragments reached her ears through December wind. Always been too wild. Husband barely cold in the ground. What kind of woman? Catherine didn't look back. Just drove. The wagon wheels carved tracks through virgin snow. Behind her, Daniel whispered to Emma. The girl sobbed into her brother's coat. 4 miles had never felt so impossibly far. Thomas McKenna woke to unfamiliar walls. His head pounded. Every muscle screamed protest. The room swam when he tried to focus. Where then he heard it. Laughter, a child's laughter, Daniel's laughter. When was the last time his son had laughed? He tried to sit. The room spun. His stomach lurched. Easy. A woman's voice. Not gentle, firm, matter of fact. Catherine Hayes appeared beside the bed, hand pressing his shoulder, pushing him back down. Not rough, not kind, just practical. You collapsed in town 3 hours ago. Fever's at 103. You've been awake 17 seconds and you're already trying to get up. Lie down. My children are fine. Daniel's stirring stew. Emma's making dolls from corn husks. Both fed, both warm, both stopped crying about 10 minutes after we got here. Thomas turned his head. Through the doorway he saw them. Daniel at the stove, wooden spoon in hand, face serious with concentration. Emma at the table humming while she twisted corn husks into shapes. Content. Safe. When had they last looked like that? I need to, He tried sitting again. Catherine pushed harder this time. You need to drink this and shut up. She shoved a tin cup at him. Dark liquid inside bitter smell. What is it? Willow bark for the fever. Drink. He drank, tasted like boiled sadness and tree bark. But warm. Outside wind howled, the cabin shook. Snow-battered windows like thrown gravel. Storm hit right after we got here. Catherine's voice carried no emotion. Just fact. We're trapped. 3 days, maybe 4. Panic clawed up Thomas's throat. I have to get back. The cattle already moved to my barn. Your cow, your horses, the chickens. Daniel helped. Kid's got a good head. Told me what needed doing. We did it before the storm hit. Thomas's throat went tight. I can't be here. People will what? Catherine's voice went flat, hard. Let your kids watch you die to save your reputation. That the plan, you don't understand, the town can go to hell. She stood, walked to the stove, poured coffee from a dented pot. Thomas stared at rough-hewn logs above him. No plaster, working cabin, not fancy, but solid, built to last. He'd promised himself after Margaret died, after he'd failed her, failed to save her, failed to be enough. He'd promised he'd never need another woman's help, never burden anyone, never prove he wasn't sufficient alone. But here he was, in a stranger's bed while his children ate her food, burned her wood, took her charity. Proof clear as daylight. He wasn't enough. Stop it, Catherine said. What? That thing you're doing, beating yourself up, I can hear it from here. You don't know. I know you worked yourself sick trying to be enough. I know you collapsed in front of your kids. I know if I hadn't been there, you'd be dead. She turned, met his eyes. Out here we help or we die. Ain't about pride. Ain't about what's proper. It's about survival. You understand? Thomas said nothing. Catherine set down her cup. Storm's not asking permission. Neither am I. You'll stay till it breaks, then you go. But while you're here, you'll rest, you'll heal. You'll let your kids have 3 days where they ain't scared their papa's going to die. You owe them that. She walked out. The door shut behind her. Daniel appeared in the doorway. Pa, you awake? Yeah, son. Miss Catherine says we can stay till the storm stops. That okay? That's okay, Daniel smiled. First real smile Thomas had seen in weeks. She's teaching me to cook stew. Says every man should know how to feed himself. That true? That's true. I like her, Pa. She don't treat us like we're broken. Thomas thought the word, broken, but didn't correct his son. Just pulled him close for a moment before Daniel ran back to the stove. Night fell. Thomas couldn't sleep. The fever broke around midnight, left him weak but clear-headed. He listened to the storm rage, listened to the cabin creak, listened to his children breathe soft and steady on their bedrolls by the fire. Through the crack in the door, he watched Catherine. She was outside. He could see her through the window, splitting wood in the barn by lantern light. Snow blew sideways. She didn't stop, just kept swinging the axe. Steady, tireless. Her hands were scarred. Years of hard work carved into her skin, visible even from here. Emma whispered from her bedroll. Pa, yeah, baby. Is Miss Catherine going to be our new mama? Thomas's chest went tight. No, sweetheart. Why not? Because we're just borrowing her kindness. When the storm stops, we go home. I don't want to go home. Emma's voice was small. She braided my hair, Pa, just like Mama used to, and she didn't cry. Everybody else who tries to help us cries. Thomas closed his eyes. Margaret's voice echoed from memory. Her last words whispered through blood-soaked sheets. Promise me you'll find them a mother, someone kind, someone who will love them. He'd promised. But every woman Mrs. Marsh introduced him to looked at his kids like wounded animals. Pitied them. Pitied him. Catherine Hayes didn't pity anyone. Go to sleep, Emma. Okay, Pa, I like it here. It's warm. Daniel's voice came soft from his bedroll. Me too. Thomas lay awake long after his children slept. Watched Catherine through the window. Watched her work. Wondered what kind of woman chose to live alone in a cabin 4 miles from town. What kind of woman ran toward dying men instead of away? What kind of woman didn't cry? Morning came. The storm didn't break. It got worse. Thomas woke to Daniel shaking his shoulder. Pa, the cow's in labor. He sat up too fast. His head spun. Where's Miss Catherine? Already in the barn. Thomas pulled on boots, grabbed his coat, stumbled outside into wind that tried to knock him down. The barn was warm compared to outside. The pregnant cow lay on her side in her straw, breathing hard. Catherine knelt beside her, hands on the cow's belly. Calf's breech. She didn't look at Thomas. Going to lose them both if we don't turn it. You done this before, have you? She rolled up her sleeves. Hold her head. Keep her calm. They worked by lantern light. Thomas held the cow's head, murmured to her while Catherine's hands disappeared inside, feeling for the calf's position. Sweat ran down her face despite the cold. The cow bellowed. Easy, girl, Thomas whispered. Easy now. An hour passed, then another. Catherine's arms shook. Her face was pale, but she didn't stop. Got it? Her voice came strained. Here it comes, and the calf emerged in a rush of fluid and membrane. Catherine cleared its nose, rubbed it hard with straw. Nothing. She rubbed harder. Come on, damn you. The calf gasped, coughed, breathed. The cow struggled to her feet, nuzzled her baby. The calf's legs wobbled. It stood. Catherine sat back in the straw. Her hands shook. Thomas handed her a rag. She wiped her face. Didn't look at him. You saved them, Thomas said. Did my job. Most people don't know how. I'm not most people. She stood, walked to the barn door, stood there staring out at the storm. Her shoulders were tight. Her hands clenched at her sides. Catherine, don't what? Don't ask, don't push, just let it be. But Thomas saw it, saw the tears on her face before she turned away, saw them and didn't understand why saving a calf would make a woman cry. He didn't know yet, didn't know about the 5 babies. The 5 times she'd held silent children, the 5 tiny graves behind the cabin. 5 names she whispered when she thought no one listened. Thomas, Michael, Catherine Jr., Sarah, James. 5 babies who never drew breath. 5 times her body had betrayed her. 5 times the town had called it God's judgment. He'd learn. But not today. Today they stood in the barn while snow buried the world outside. Stood with a newborn calf between them, alive because of her. Because Catherine Hayes knew how to fight death and sometimes win. Thank you, Thomas said. Catherine didn't answer, just walked back into the storm. The storm broke at dawn. Pale sunlight filtered through windows. The world outside was white, silent, new. Thomas stood testing legs that were weak but steady. The fever was gone. We should go, he said. Catherine nodded. She packed food for them, bundled the children in extra blankets, moved efficient, professional, like a woman used to people leaving. Daniel hugged her, quick, awkward. Thank you, Miss Catherine. You're welcome, son. Emma grabbed Catherine's hand. Will we see you again? Catherine's face softened, just for a second. Reckon you will, child. Thomas lifted Emma into the wagon, looked back at Catherine standing on the porch. Wanted to say something, didn't know what. I'll be back, he finally said, to repay you. Don't owe me nothing. I do. Then don't die of pride. That's repayment enough. He drove away. Didn't look back. Couldn't. Behind him, Daniel whispered to Emma, I liked it there. Me too. Thomas said nothing, just drove. The wagon wheels broke trail through virgin snow. His children were safe. That's what mattered. He'd survived. They'd survived. But something had shifted, something he couldn't name yet, couldn't face. The town came into view. Copper Creek, his home, his prison. He wondered if Catherine Hayes was watching them go. Wondered if she stood on that porch until they disappeared. He'd never ask. But he thought maybe she did. 6 days passed. Thomas tried to focus on work. Cattle needed feeding. Fences needed mending. Life didn't stop just because you'd spent 3 days in a stranger's cabin remembering what warm felt like. But his hands wouldn't cooperate. He'd be hammering a fence post and suddenly remember Catherine's hands disappearing inside the cow. Catherine's tears she didn't think he saw. Catherine standing in the barn doorway, staring at nothing. Daniel asked about her every night. Can we visit Miss Catherine? We're not social people, son. We keep to ourselves. Yeah, but she helped us. That's different. How? Thomas didn't have an answer. Just went to bed angry at himself. On the 7th day he broke, loaded his father's toolbox into the wagon, added his best hammer, drove 4 miles through snow that still came up to wheel hubs. Catherine was on her porch when he arrived mending a bridle. Didn't look up when the wagon stopped. Came to repay you, Bime, Thomas said. Told you don't owe me. You need a new roof. Saw the leak over the kitchen. I'll get to it when spring. He gestured at the snow. That's 4 months. You'll have rot by then. Catherine's hands stilled on the bridle. You don't owe me charity. Not charity. It's how things work out here. We help each other. I don't need help. Everyone needs help. I don't. Thomas set down the toolbox. Then consider it payment for saving my life, for feeding my kids, for giving them 3 days where they weren't scared. You won't take money. Fine, take this. Catherine stood, walked to the edge of the porch, looked at him for a long moment. Her eyes were gray, cold, guarded. One condition, she said, name it. This makes us even. After you don't come back. You go back to your life. I go back to mine. No debt either way. Thomas should have agreed, should have said yes and kept his distance. But something in the way she said it, like she was desperate for him to agree, terrified he wouldn't, made him hesitate. Even, he finally said. Catherine went inside, shut the door, but Thomas saw her watching through the window, saw her hands twist in her apron, saw something like fear on her face. He climbed onto the roof, started pulling up rotted shingles. Below, Catherine stood at her kitchen window, watched Thomas work. His movements were careful, skilled, like Michael's had been. Michael dead 2 winters, shot by claim jumpers. She'd found him in the snow, frozen, alone. The town had whispered she should have stopped him, should have kept him safe. Like his death was her fault. Like love was supposed to be a leash. She'd learned then. Let no one close. Need no one. Survive alone. But watching Thomas work made her chest hurt in a way she'd forgotten was possible. She crushed it down, turned away from the window. In the corner, Michael's mining helmet hung on a nail. She'd kept it there. Reminder, warning, don't love again, don't risk it, don't survive losing someone else. Outside, hammer blows echoed, steady as a heartbeat. Daniel and Emma arrived around noon, came running through the snow like puppies. Miss Catherine, Papa said we could visit while he works. Catherine stepped onto the porch. Did he now? Thomas climbed down from the roof. Thought they could help you with chores, if you need. Don't need help. Then they can sit and be quiet. I doubt that. Daniel grinned. I can stack firewood real good, and Emma can gather eggs. Chickens are mean today, Catherine warned. I ain't scared of chickens, Emma declared. Catherine almost smiled. Almost. Fine, firewood's by the barn. Chicken coop's out back. Don't get pecked. The children ran off. Catherine turned to go inside. Catherine, she stopped. Didn't turn around. Thank you, Thomas said, for not making them leave. Ain't their fault their father's stubborn. She went inside. But she watched through the window, watched Daniel stack wood with careful precision, watched Emma chase chickens laughing when they scattered, watched them be children, free, happy. When was the last time she'd heard children laugh in her yard? Never. She'd never carried a child long enough to hear it laugh. She turned away from the window, went to her bedroom, pulled a small wooden box from under the bed. Inside 5 tiny knitted caps, 5 pairs of booties, 5 names carved on pieces of wood. Thomas, Michael, Catherine Jr., Sarah, James, 5 babies, 5 funerals. 5 times she'd stood alone in the cemetery because the town said it was God's judgment, said she was cursed, said her womb was punishment for some sin she couldn't name. She closed the box, shoved it back under the bed. Outside, Daniel laughed. Emma squealed. Catherine pressed her forehead against the bedroom wall, closed her eyes. Don't get attached. They're not yours, they'll leave. Everyone leaves. Thomas worked till sunset. Got half the roof replaced. Good work. Solid. Would last years. As he climbed down, Catherine stepped onto the porch. Supper's ready. If you're staying, we should get back. I made extra. Waste to throw it out. She went inside. Thomas looked at his kids. They looked back with hopeful eyes. Please, Pa, Daniel asked. Inside. 1 meal. Then we go. They followed her inside. The cabin was warm. Stew bubbled on the stove. Fresh bread sat on the table. Nothing fancy, but it smelled like home. They ate. Catherine didn't talk much, but she listened. Daniel told her about school. Emma told her about the cat that hung around their barn. Thomas said nothing, just watched. Watched how Catherine cut Emma's meat without being asked. Watched how she refilled Daniel's bowl before he could ask. Watched how she moved around her cabin like a woman used to doing everything herself. After supper, Emma brought out her corn husk dolls. Miss Catherine, can you teach me to make hair for them? It's getting late, Thomas started. I can show her quick, Catherine said. She sat at the table. Emma climbed into the chair beside her. Catherine's hands moved fast, precise, braiding corn silk into doll hair. Like this, see? You make it look easy. Practice, that's all. Emma worked on her doll, tongue between her teeth, concentrating. Thomas watched, felt something crack open in his chest, something he'd kept locked tight since Margaret died. Daniel leaned against him, whispered, She's good with Emma, Pa. Yeah, son, she is. Mama would have liked her, I think. Thomas's throat closed. Yeah, I think she would have. They left when full dark came. Catherine walked them to the wagon. The night was cold, clear. Stars burned overhead like ice chips. Thank you for supper, Thomas said. Told you I made extra. I'll be back in a few days. Finish the roof. Catherine's face closed. Thought we were even. Roof's not done. I'll finish it. You'll fall and break your neck. Then I'll die doing my own work, better than owing. Thomas looked at her, saw the fear behind the pride, the walls she'd built brick by brick. I'm coming back, Catherine. Not because you owe me, because I owe you and I pay my debts. He drove away before she could argue. Behind him, Emma said, I like Miss Catherine, Pa. I know, baby. Do you like her? Thomas didn't answer, but the silence said enough. 3 days later, Thomas came back, and 3 days after that, and 3 days after that, each time he worked. Fixed the roof, mended fences, repaired the sagging barn door, split firewood till the pile was 10 feet high. Each time Catherine fed him, fed his kids, let them help with chores, let them laugh in her yard, let them fill the silence she'd been living in for 2 years. Each time they both pretended this was about debt, about payment, about anything except the truth neither would name. Late March came, Sunday morning. Thomas stood outside the Methodist church, Daniel and Emma beside him in their Sunday clothes. Through the open door he saw the congregation, saw them sitting in their usual seats, families together, respectable, proper, and in the back row alone like always, Catherine Hayes. She sat straight-backed, chin high, but the space around her was empty, 3 feet on each side, like she carried plague. Thomas's jaw tightened. Come on, kids. They walked up the steps. Abigail Marsh, general store owner, town gossip, self-appointed guardian of morality, stepped in front of them. Mr. McKenna, a word. Thomas looked at his children. Go inside, I'll be right there. They went. Thomas turned to Abigail. That Hayes woman. Abigail's voice was low, urgent. People are talking. People always talk. You've been seen at her cabin, multiple times. Alone. I've been fixing her roof. Mr. McKenna. Abigail touched his arm. I understand loneliness, I do. But that woman, she's not appropriate for a man with children. She's too hard, too independent, too what? Set in her ways. You need a proper wife. Someone soft, someone motherly. She smiled. Her teeth were white. Perfect. I've written to a widow in Denver. Lovely woman, educated, excellent with children. She arrives on the afternoon train next week. Thomas's blood ran cold. You did what? I'm helping you, dear man. Can't you see you need guidance? Your children need a proper mother. And Mrs. Hayes, well, everyone knows she's cursed. 5 dead babies, husband shot. Some women just attract tragedy. Thomas stepped back, away from her hand, away from her smile. Don't write that widow again. Don't speak about Catherine Hayes that way. Don't presume to know what my children need. Abigail's smile faltered. Mr. McKenna, we're done here. He walked inside. The church was full. Reverend Morrison stood at the pulpit, Bible open. The congregation settled into seats. Thomas walked down the center aisle, past the respectable families, past Victor Blackwood in his black suit, past the miners and ranchers and shopkeepers. He reached the back row, reached Catherine. She looked up, eyes wide, surprised, scared. This seat taken, ma'am. Catherine's hands twisted in her lap. Been empty 2 years, Mr. McKenna. Then I reckon it's mine, if you'll have me. He sat. The pew creaked. Around them, the church went silent. Complete silence. The kind that drowns. Daniel and Emma scrambled from their seats 3 rows up. Squeezed into the pew. Emma grabbed Catherine's hand. Can I sit with you, Miss Catherine? Catherine looked at the little girl, at Thomas, at the entire church staring at them. Yeah, child, she whispered. You can sit with me. Reverend Morrison started his sermon. His text was loving thy neighbor, judging not, but his eyes kept drifting to Catherine, to Thomas, cold, pointed. We must ask ourselves, the Reverend said, what example we set in our choices, in our associations, in who we allow into our lives and the lives of our children. Murmurs rippled through the congregation. Some claimed charity. The Reverend continued, claim Christian duty, but true charity must be proper, must be decent, must not cause others to stumble. Thomas felt Catherine stiffen beside him, felt her preparing to leave, to stand and walk out and never come back. He reached over, took her hand. She froze. Don't, he whispered. Don't give them what they want. They want me gone. Then we stay. She looked at him, gray eyes searching. Why? Because they're wrong and we're not. Catherine's hand trembled in his, but she didn't pull away, didn't leave, just sat there while the Reverend preached judgment and the congregation whispered. Daniel leaned against her. Emma held her other hand. Thomas kept his hand over hers. And for the first time in 2 years, Catherine Hayes wasn't alone in church. The service ended. People filed out fast, avoiding eye contact, rushing past like Catherine might be contagious. But one man stopped. Dr. Samuel Porter, old country doctor, wife dead from consumption 3 years back. He tried to deliver all 5 of Catherine's babies. He shook Thomas's hand, squeezed tight. Took courage, son. Just sitting in church, Doc. You know it's more than that. Dr. Porter looked at Catherine. Mrs. Hayes, good to see you. Don't let them drive you out. They've been trying for years, Doc. Ain't worked yet. Dr. Porter smiled, sad, knowing. Good. Keep fighting. He left. Outside, spring sun was warm. First real warmth since winter. Catherine breathed deep. Her shoulders loosened. Then a shadow fell across them. Victor Blackwood, tall in his black suit, face unreadable. Mrs. Hayes, a word. Thomas stepped forward. Whatever you need to say. This is between me and Mrs. Hayes. Blackwood's eyes were cold, flat. Your mortgage, ma'am, it's 3 months overdue. Catherine's face went white. I'll have payment next month. The timber. I'm afraid next month won't do. The bank requires payment within 30 days, or I foreclose. 30 days, unless... Blackwood paused, smiled. It didn't reach his eyes. Unless you'd consider my previous offer. Thomas looked between them. What offer? Catherine's hands clenched. Nothing. Marriage, Mr. McKenna, Blackwood said. I offered Mrs. Hayes marriage, full debt forgiveness, respectability, security. All she has to do is accept. Thomas's blood turned to ice. Blackwood turned to Catherine. Think carefully, Mrs. Hayes. 30 days. Then your land is mine. He walked away. Thomas turned to Catherine. He proposed 2 weeks ago before you... She stopped. It don't matter. The hell it doesn't. He's extorting you. He's within his legal right. Catherine, don't, her voice cracked. Just don't. Daniel tugged Thomas's sleeve. Pa, what's happening? Thomas knelt. Nothing you need to worry about, son. But Emma looked at Catherine. At the tears Catherine was fighting. Why is Mr. Blackwood so mean? Catherine touched Emma's hair. Because some men don't know how to be anything else, sweetheart. They drove Catherine home. The ride was silent. When they reached her cabin, she climbed down fast. Thank you for the ride. Catherine, wait. I said thank you. She walked inside, shut the door. Thomas heard the bolt slide home. Daniel looked up at him. We're going to help her, right, Pa? Thomas stared at the closed door, at the cabin that would be taken from her in 30 days, at the woman who'd saved his life and asked for nothing in return. Yeah, son, we're going to help her. How high? Thomas didn't know yet, but he'd find a way. He had to. That night, Thomas couldn't sleep. He lay in bed staring at ceiling beams thinking. 30 days. Catherine had 30 days. He could offer to pay her mortgage, but she'd refuse. Pride wouldn't let her take charity. He could offer collateral, put up his ranch as guarantee. But that would ruin him if she couldn't pay. His kids would suffer. The sensible thing was to let her go, let her lose the cabin, move back east, find family. Start over. The sensible thing was breaking his heart. Midnight, someone pounded on his door. Thomas grabbed his rifle, opened it. Catherine stood there, snow in her hair, eyes wild. It's the mare. Your mare. She's foaling. Breach. I need help. Thomas didn't ask questions. Grabbed his coat, followed her to her barn. His pregnant mare, the one he'd moved to Catherine's barn during the storm, lay on her side, breathing hard, eyes rolling. The foal wasn't coming right. Thomas and Catherine worked by lantern light. Her hands went inside the mare, feeling searching, face set in concentration. Got the head, she said, but the legs are folded, need to straighten them. Sweat ran down her face. The mare screamed, kicked, nearly caught Catherine in the ribs. Hold her, Catherine said. Thomas grabbed the mare's head, held her down, whispered to her, easy, girl, easy. Let her help you. An hour passed, 2. Catherine's arms shook. Her face was gray with exhaustion. Come on, she whispered. Come on, damn you. Don't you die on me. The foal shifted. Catherine gasped. Got it. Here it comes. The foal emerged in a rush, membrane covered, still, too still. Catherine cleared its nose, rubbed it hard with straw. Breathe, breathe, baby, breathe. Nothing, she rubbed harder, desperate. Don't do this, don't you dare. The foal gasped, coughed, breathed. The mare struggled up, nuzzled her baby. The foal's legs wobbled. It stood. Catherine sat back in the straw. Her whole body shook. And then she broke. Tears came hard, ugly, 2 years of grief pouring out. Thomas knelt beside her. Catherine. 5 times, her voice a cracked. 5 times I held dead babies, named them, buried them alone because the town said it was God's judgment, said I was cursed, said my womb was punishment. She looked at him, face wet, raw. This is the first time I've seen a birth that didn't end in death. Thomas pulled her against his chest. She fought for a second, then collapsed, sobbed into his coat like a woman who'd forgotten how to cry. I'm so sorry, Thomas whispered. God, Catherine, I'm so sorry. Michael wanted children so bad, and I kept losing them, kept burying them. And then he died, and I was alone, and everyone said it was my fault, said I killed them, killed him, said I was cursed and God was punishing me. And I believe them, Thomas. I believe them. You're not cursed. Then why? Why did they all die? Why did Michael die? Why does everyone I love? She stopped, clapped a hand over her mouth. Thomas pulled back, looked at her. Everyone you love, Catherine shook her head, tried to pull away. I didn't mean Catherine. He cupped her face, made her look at him. Everyone you love. She closed her eyes. Don't make me say it. Why must? Because you'll leave. Everyone leaves. I'm not leaving. You will when you realize I'm too broken, too hard, too cursed. You'll go and I'll be alone again. And I can't, her voice broke. I can't survive losing someone else, Thomas. I can't. Thomas's heart cracked clean open. You're not losing me. You don't know that. Yes, I do. He took her hands, held them tight. My wife's last words were, promise me you'll find them a mother. I promised. And I've been trying, been looking for someone who looked right, acted right, someone proper and soft and everything the town says a mother should be. I'm none of those things. No, you're not. He smiled, sad, real. You're strong where I'm weak. You make my kids laugh. You don't need me for a damn thing, but you help anyway. You're not a replacement for Margaret Catherine. You're the answer to her prayer. She wanted them loved. You love them. I do. Catherine's tears fell fresh. God help me, I do. And I love... She stopped. Couldn't say it. Thomas said it for her. I love you too. Catherine looked at him, eyes wide, searching. You can't. You barely know me. I know you dove into that storm to save my daughter's horse. I know you worked 3 days to keep me alive. I know you cry for foals and dead babies, and you split wood in blizzards because you don't trust anyone to help you. I know you're the bravest, stubbornest, most beautiful woman I've ever met, and I love you. The town will crucify us. Let them. Blackwood will take my land. Then we'll fight him together. I'm not ready. Neither am I. He leaned his forehead against hers. But maybe being ready is a lie. Maybe we just choose and live with the consequences. The foal nursed, the mare stood guard, new life in a barn while snow fell outside. Catherine pulled back, looked at Thomas for a long moment, seeing him, really seeing him. Then she kissed him, desperate, scared, full of 2 years of loneliness and loss and the terrifying hope that maybe she could love again without losing everything. Thomas kissed her back, held her like she was the only solid thing in a world gone to chaos. When they broke apart, Catherine laughed. Raw, real. We're idiots. Best kind. They'll destroy us. Then we'll build something new from the wreckage. Outside, dawn broke. Pink light spilled through the barn door. The storm had passed. The world was clean, white, new. Inside, 2 broken people held each other, choosing love over fear, choosing each other over safety. It wouldn't be easy. The town would fight. Blackwood would fight. Hell, they'd fight themselves half the time. But they'd do it together. And maybe that was enough. Thomas drove home as the sun rose. Daniel and Emma were still asleep when he got there. He sat on the porch, watched the sunrise, felt different, lighter, terrified, alive. He'd made a choice. Now came the hard part, standing by it. A wagon appeared on the horizon, coming from town. Fast, Thomas stood, recognizing the driver. Dr. Samuel Porter pulled up, climbed down. His face was grave. Thomas, we need to talk. What's wrong? Blackwood. He's moving up the foreclosure, not 30 days, 10. He filed emergency seizure papers yesterday. Claims Catherine's property is abandoned, not being maintained. He's got the judge's signature. Thomas's blood ran cold. 10 days. I tried to stop him, but he's got leverage, owns half the town council. Dr. Porter paused. There's more. He found out about you being at her cabin multiple times, alone. He's using it, saying she's running a house of ill repute, that your children are being exposed to. That's a lie. I know, but the town council doesn't care about truth. They care about propriety. And Blackwood knows how to use that. Thomas sat down hard on the porch steps. 10 days. What can I do? Dr. Porter looked at him for a long moment. Marry her. What? Marry her today. Make it legal and proper. Then Blackwood can't use scandal as leverage. Her debt becomes your debt. You can negotiate by time. She won't agree. Her pride. Then you better figure out how to convince her. Because in 10 days she loses everything. And Blackwood gets exactly what he wants. Catherine Hayes with nowhere else to go. Dr. Porter climbed back into his wagon. I'll stall Blackwood as long as I can. But you're running out of time, son. Make your choice and make it fast. He drove away. Thomas sat on his porch, watched the sunrise, thought about Catherine's face when she'd said, I can't survive losing someone else. 10 days wasn't enough time to heal 2 years of grief. Wasn't enough time to convince her that love was worth the risk. But it was all they had. He stood, walked inside, woke his kids. Get dressed. We're going to Miss Catherine's. Why? Daniel asked, sleep blurred. Because we're going to ask her a question and pray she says yes. Catherine was splitting wood when she saw the wagon coming. 3 figures, Thomas and his kids, sun barely up, and here they came like the devil was chasing them. She set down the axe, wiped her hands on her apron. Her heart kicked against her ribs. Last night in the barn, the kiss, the confession, the terrifying admission that she loved him, felt like a fever dream in daylight. Thomas pulled up, climbed down. His face was set, determined, scared. We need to talk about last night. Blackwood moved up the foreclosure. 10 days, Catherine. Not 30. 10. The world tilted. He can't. He filed emergency seizure, claims your property is abandoned, not maintained. He's got the judge's signature. Catherine's legs went weak. She sat down hard on the porch step. 10 days. In 10 days, you'll have nothing, nowhere to go. Thomas knelt in front of her, took her hands. Marry me. She looked at him, at his face, at the fear and hope mixed there. What'll marry me today, make it legal, then Blackwood can't use scandal, can't claim impropriety, your debt becomes mine. We can fight him together. Thomas, I know it's fast, I know you're scared. Hell, I'm terrified. But we're out of time. Daniel stepped forward. Please, Miss Catherine, we don't want you to go. Emma grabbed her hand. Marry Papa, then you can live with us forever. Catherine looked at the children, at their faces, at the hope there, the love. I can't ask you to ruin yourself for me, she said to Thomas. If I can't pay, if the timber money doesn't come through, you'll lose your ranch. Your kids will suffer. Then we'll all suffer together, better than you suffering alone. That's not Catherine's poem. His voice was firm. I'm not asking you to let me save you. I'm asking you to save me, to save all of us, because a family that fights together has a chance. A person fighting alone has none. She closed her eyes, felt tears coming. You don't love me. Not really. You think you do, but don't tell me what I feel. And Thomas's voice was gentle, hard. I've buried a wife, raised 2 kids alone, worked myself half to death, trying to be enough. And I wasn't. Not until you. You make me better, make my kids better, and if loving you is a mistake, then I'll make it gladly. The town will crucify us. Let them. Blackwood will fight dirty. So will we. Catherine looked at him, at this gentle, stubborn, broken man offering her everything he had, offering her a choice, hide and lose, or fight and maybe win. She thought about Michael's grave, about standing there alone for 2 years, about the 5 tiny graves behind the cabin, about all the deaths she'd survived. Maybe it was time to choose life. Okay, she whispered. Thomas's eyes widened. Okay, I'll marry you today, right now, before I lose my nerve. Daniel whooped. Emma threw her arms around Catherine's waist. Thomas pulled her up, kissed her hard, desperate, relieved. We'll go to Dr. Porter's, Thomas said. He can marry us, make it legal. I need to. Catherine looked down at herself. Work dress, mud on her boots, hair cropped short and uncombed. I look like hell. You look perfect. Thomas touched her face. Let's go before Blackwood hears and tries to stop us. They climbed into the wagon, drove toward town. The morning sun was bright, cold. The snow sparkled like crushed diamonds. Catherine's hands shook. Thomas reached over, squeezed her hand. You're sure? She asked, terrified. Terrified, but sure. That makes no sense. Welcome to marriage. Despite everything, the fear of the deadline, the disaster looming, Catherine laughed. Dr. Porter's house sat on the edge of town. Small, neat, medical office and front living quarters in back. Thomas pounded on the door. Dr. Porter opened it, still in his nightshirt, looked at them, at Catherine's face, at the children. Understanding dawned. She said yes. She said yes. Dr. Porter grinned. First real smile Catherine had seen on the old doctor's face in years. Well, hell, come in. Let me get dressed. They crowded into his office. Medical books lined the walls. The smell of carbolic and dried herbs filled the air. Dr. Porter disappeared into the back. Returned 5 minutes later in his good suit, carried a worn Bible. You have rings? Thomas pulled off his wedding band. The one Margaret had given him, gold worn thin. This was mine. It'll fit Catherine till we can. It's perfect. Catherine took it, slid it on her finger. Too big, but close enough. Dr. Porter opened the Bible. Witnesses us, Daniel said. He grabbed Emma's hand. We'll witness. Dr. Porter nodded, looked at Thomas and Catherine. This is going to be fast. Bare bones, but it'll be legal. You ready? Thomas looked at Catherine. Ready. No, do it anyway. Dr. Porter smiled, started reading. Dearly beloved, we are gathered here in the sight of God and these witnesses to join this man and this woman in holy matrimony. Catherine barely heard the words. Her heart was too loud, her hands too cold. She stared at Thomas, at his face, at the way he looked at her like she was the only solid thing in a spinning world. Do you, Thomas McKenna, take Catherine Hayes to be your lawfully wedded wife, to have and to hold in sickness and health for richer or poorer, till death do you part? I do. Do you, Catherine Hayes, take Thomas McKenna to be your lawfully wedded husband, to have and to hold in sickness and health for richer or poorer, till death do you part? Catherine's throat closed. She thought about Michael, about the promise she'd made at his grave. I'll never love again. But Michael was dead. She was alive. And maybe keeping that promise meant dying too. I do, she whispered. By the power vested in me by the territory of Montana, I now pronounce you husband and wife. Thomas, you may kiss your bride. Thomas cupped Catherine's face, kissed her soft, gentle. A promise, not a demand. When they broke apart, Emma was crying. Happy tears. Daniel grinned so wide his face might split. Porter closed the Bible. Congratulations, Mr. and Mrs. McKenna. Now let's get this marriage registered before Blackwood hears and tries to contest it. They drove to the county clerk's office, a small building next to the courthouse. The clerk, a thin, nervous man named Peters, looked up when they entered. Dr. Porter, what can I... He saw Catherine. His eyes widened. Mrs. Hayes. Mrs. McKenna now, Thomas said. We need to register a marriage. Peters blinking. You got married just now? Just now, needed official. Peters pulled out the marriage register. His hand shook as he wrote. Names Thomas James McKenna, Catherine Ann McKenna. Date today, March 31st, 1878. Witnesses Samuel Porter and Daniel McKenna. Sign here. Thomas signed. Catherine signed. Her new name felt strange under her hand. Foreign, terrifying. Catherine McKenna. Peters handed them the certificate. That's it? You're married. Legal and binding. Thank you. Thomas folded the certificate, tucked it in his coat. They turned to leave. The door opened. Victor Blackwood walked in. He stopped, looked at them, at Dr. Porter. At the marriage register, still open on the desk, his face went white then red. What have you done? Got married, Thomas said. Voice flat, calm, legal as the day is long. Blackwood's jaw worked. This is fraud, conspiracy. She married you to avoid debt. That's illegal. She married me because I asked and she said yes. Debt's got nothing to do with it. The hell it doesn't. Blackwood stepped forward. You think this changes anything? She still owes. And now I owe, Thomas said. I'll take your ranch, McKenna. I'll take everything you have. You can try, but I'll do more than try. Blackwood looked at Catherine. His eyes were cold, hurt, angry. I offered you everything. Respect, security, a place in this town, and you chose him, a broken-down rancher with two brats and a failing herd. Catherine stepped forward. I chose love, Mr. Blackwood, something you wouldn't recognize if it spit in your face. Blackwood's hand shot out, grabbed her arm. Hard. Thomas moved fast, shoved Blackwood back, hard enough to make him stumble. Touch my wife again and we'll have a different conversation. Blackwood straightened his coat. His face was a mask. Cold. Controlled. 10 days, McKenna. Then I foreclose. And there's not a thing you can do about it. He walked out. The office was silent. Peters, the clerk, looked terrified. I just registered. You did your job, the porter said. No one blames you. They left. Outside, the morning sun was bright. The street was filling with people. Word would spread fast. Catherine Hayes married Thomas McKenna. Scandal, gossip, judgment. Let it come. Thomas helped Catherine into the wagon. His hands were gentle. You okay? No, but I will be. They drove home. To Thomas's ranch, not her cabin. That was the agreement. She'd move in with him. Combine households. Face whatever came as a family. The ranch was modest, main house, barn, corral for cattle. Everything needed work. Paint peeling, fences sagging. But it was solid, built to last. Daniel and Emma ran inside ahead of them. Thomas helped Catherine down from the wagon. Welcome home, Mrs. McKenna. Catherine looked at the house, at the home she'd just agreed to share. Feels strange. It'll get stranger before it gets easier. You're full of comfort. I'm full of truth. He squeezed her hand. Come on, let's get you settled. Inside the house was clean but sparse. Men's furniture, no curtains, no softness, just function. Emma grabbed Catherine's hand. You can sleep in Mama's room with Papa. Is that okay? Catherine's throat closed. That's okay, sweetheart. Emma led her down the hall, opened a door. The room was simple. A bed, a dresser, a window facing east. On the dresser sat a photograph. A woman. Young, beautiful, dark hair, soft smile. Margaret. Catherine touched the frame. She was lovely. Thomas appeared in the doorway, saw what she was looking at. I can put it away if it bothers you. Don't. Catherine turned. She's their mother, your first wife. She belongs here. You're sure? I'm not replacing her, Thomas. She struggled for words. I'm just the next chapter. She gets to stay in the story. Thomas crossed to her, pulled her close. How are you this smart? I'm not. I'm terrified and making it up as I go. That's the definition of smart. He kissed her forehead, left her to settle in. Catherine stood alone in the room. In Margaret's room, in her room now. She opened the dresser, found it empty. Thomas had cleared it, made space. She unpacked her few belongings, 2 dresses, a spare apron, Michael's mining helmet. She set the helmet on the dresser next to Margaret's photograph. 2 ghosts, 2 lives, 2 loves that ended in grief. But maybe that was okay. Maybe the dead could coexist with the living. Maybe moving forward didn't mean forgetting. She lay down on the bed, just for a moment. The mattress was soft, softer than her cabins. She closed her eyes, slept. She woke to voices. Afternoon sun slanted through the window. She'd slept for hours. Catherine sat up. Her head felt thick, her mouth dry. She walked to the kitchen. Thomas stood at the stove cooking something that smelled like burnt beans. Daniel set the table. Emma folded napkins with intense concentration. They looked like a family, almost. You're awake, Thomas said. I was going to wake you for lunch, but you looked peaceful. Catherine crossed to the stove, looked at what he was cooking, winced. That's bad. I know, I can't cook worth a damn. Move. She took the spoon, stirred, added water, salt, scraped the burnt bits off the bottom. How have you survived? We eat a lot of jerky. That explains why Daniel's so thin. She tasted. Still bad, but fixable. Get me an onion and bacon if you have it. Thomas found both. Catherine worked. Within 20 minutes, the beans were edible. She fried bacon, made cornbread from the supplies in the pantry. They sat down to eat. The first meal as a family. Daniel shoveled food in like he was starving. Emma ate slow, watching Catherine with wide eyes. "This is good, Mama Catherine," Emma said. Catherine froze, spoon halfway to her mouth. "What did you call me?" Emma's face crumpled. "I'm sorry, I didn't mean, should I not?" "No." Catherine's eyes filled. "No, sweetheart. You can call me that if you want." "Really? Really?" Emma beamed, went back to eating. Across the table, Thomas watched Catherine. His face was soft, grateful, scared. They were married, they were a family, and they had 9 days left to figure out how to survive. That night, after the kids were in bed, Thomas and Catherine sat at the kitchen table. Papers spread between them. Mortgage documents, bank statements, letters from creditors. "How bad is it?" Catherine asked. "Bad. Your cabin's mortgaged for $800. I've got 500 in savings. We need 300 more. The timber money won't come for 6 weeks. Too late." Catherine pressed her hands to her face. "So we're ruined." "Not yet." Thomas pulled out another paper. "My ranch is worth about 2,000. I can use it as collateral. Negotiate a payment plan with Blackwood." "He won't negotiate. He wants me gone." "Then we go over his head. There's a territorial judge who comes through in 2 weeks. We can appeal, show the marriage is legitimate, show we're trying to pay, ask for an extension." 2 weeks is past the deadline. "So we stall, make Blackwood wait for the judge." "How?" Thomas smiled, grim. "Dr. Porter knows things about Blackwood, things Blackwood wouldn't want public." Catherine looked at him. "You're talking about blackmail." "I'm talking about leverage." "That's the same thing." "Then yes, I'm talking about blackmail." Thomas leaned forward. "I will do whatever it takes to keep you safe, to keep this family together. If that makes me a bad man, fine. I'll be a bad man." Catherine reached across the table, took his hand. "You're not a bad man. You're a desperate one. There's a difference, is there?" "I hope so, otherwise we're both damned." They sat in silence. The lamp flickered. Outside, wind rattled the windows. "I'm scared," Catherine whispered. "Me too." "What if we lose everything?" "Then we'll start over somewhere else. Montana's big. We'll find land, build again." "With what money?" "With our hands, our backs. Same way we've always survived." He squeezed her hand. "We're tougher than Blackwood, Catherine. Tougher than this town. And we're together. That counts for something." Catherine wanted to believe him, wanted to believe love was enough, but she'd loved before. Loved Michael. Loved 5 babies who'd never drawn breath. Love hadn't saved any of them. But maybe this time was different. Maybe fighting together changed the odds. Or maybe they'd lose everything and she'd survive one more loss. One more grave to dig. She pushed the thought away. Stood. "I'm going to bed. I'll be there soon. Just need to finish these numbers." Catherine walked to the bedroom, stood in the doorway, looked at the bed, at Margaret's photograph, at Michael's helmet beside it. 2 ghosts watching her climb into bed with a man she'd married out of desperation and chosen out of hope. She undressed, put on her nightgown, slid under the covers. The sheets were cold. She waited. Thomas came in 20 minutes later, undressed in the dark, slid in beside her, kept a respectful distance. "Thomas." "Yeah. You can touch me. We're married." "I know, just didn't want to presume." Catherine rolled over, faced him. In the dark, she could barely see his face, just the outline, the shape of him. "I'm scared of this," she said. "Of us. Of needing someone again. Of losing you like I lost Michael. I'm scared, too." "Of what?" "Of not being enough again. Of failing you like I failed Margaret." They lay there, 2 scared, broken people trying to figure out how to be whole. Catherine moved closer, put her head on his chest, felt his heartbeat, steady, strong. Thomas's arm came around her, held her. They slept like that, holding each other against the dark, against the fear, against whatever was coming. It wasn't perfect, it wasn't even comfortable, but it was real, and real was all they had. Morning came, someone was pounding on the door. Thomas stumbled out of bed, grabbed his pants. Catherine followed, pulling on her robe. Thomas opened the door. Abigail Marsh stood there. Behind her, half the town, maybe 20 people, all staring, all judging. "Mr. McKenna." Abigail's voice was cold, formal. We've come on behalf of the church to discuss your recent marriage. What about it? It's unseemly, rushed. The congregation feels we feel that it sets a poor example for the children. The children are fine. Nevertheless, Abigail pushed past him into the house. The others followed, filled the kitchen like an invading army. Catherine stood frozen in the bedroom doorway. She'd known judgment was coming, but seeing their faces, their disgust, was different from imagining it. Reverend Morrison stepped forward. Mrs. McKenna, is it true you married Mr. McKenna yesterday without proper courtship, without banns being posted? It's true. And is it true you did so to avoid financial obligation to Mr. Blackwood? I did so because Thomas asked and I said yes. My reasons are my own. Your reasons affect this community, affect these children. The Reverend gestured at Daniel and Emma, who'd emerged from their room, scared, confused. What kind of mother rushes into marriage with indecent haste? What lessons does that teach? Thomas stepped forward. That's enough. It is not enough. This woman, your wife, this woman has a reputation. 5 dead children, a murdered husband. Some say she's cursed. Some say... Thomas moved fast, grabbed the Reverend's shirt, shoved him against the wall. Get out of my house. Mr. McKenna, get out, all of you, now. No one moved. Thomas's voice dropped, deadly quiet. I fought in the war, killed men who deserved it lesser than you do right now. I'm giving you 10 seconds to leave. After that, I stopped being polite. The crowd shifted, uncomfortable, scared. Abigail Marsh spoke up. We're only concerned for the children. The children are fine, better than fine. They have a mother who loves them, a home, a family. That's more than they had 2 days ago. But the scandal is your problem, not mine. Thomas released the Reverend, stepped back. You came into my home, insulted my wife, threatened my family. I want you gone. If you have concerns, take them to the territorial judge when he comes. Until then, stay away from us. The crowd filed out, slow, reluctant, still judging. Abigail was last. She paused at the door. You're making a mistake, Mr. McKenna. That woman will destroy you. Then I'll be destroyed, but I'll be destroyed with her. Now get out. She left. Thomas shut the door, leaned against it. His hands shook. Catherine crossed to him, wrapped her arms around him. He buried his face in her hair. I'm sorry, he whispered. I'm so sorry they said those things. It's not your fault. I should have protected you better. You did protect me. You threw them out. Daniel and Emma appeared, both crying. Thomas knelt, pulled them close. It's okay. We're okay. They said mean things about Mama Catherine. Emma sobbed. I know, baby. People say mean things when they're scared. Scared of what? Of things they don't understand, of people who don't fit their rules. But we don't have to play by their rules. We make our own. Daniel wiped his eyes. Are we going to be okay, Peekball? Thomas looked at Catherine. She looked back. Neither of them knew the answer. But they couldn't say that to the kids. We're going to fight, Thomas said. And fighting's all we can do. But we'll do it together. All 4 of us. Okay, Pa. They spent the rest of the morning trying to pretend everything was normal. Catherine made breakfast. Thomas worked on fences. The kids did chores, but the fear hung in the air like smoke. Choking, inescapable. That afternoon, a wagon arrived. Catherine looked out the window, saw a woman she didn't know, young, pretty, well-dressed. Beside the wagon stood Victor Blackwood, smiling. Thomas came out of the barn, saw them. His face went pale. Catherine walked outside, stood beside him. The woman climbed down from the wagon, extended her hand. Mr. McKenna, I'm Margaret Ashford from Denver. Mrs. Marsh wrote to me about... She stopped, saw Catherine, saw the way Thomas stood close to her. Understanding dawned. Oh, I see. She didn't mention you were married. Yesterday, Thomas said. Margaret's face fell. I see. Then I've traveled all this way for nothing. I'm sorry. I didn't know Abigail had... It's not your fault. Margaret climbed back into the wagon. I hope you'll be happy, Mr. McKenna. Both of you. She drove away. Blackwood stayed, watching, His smile was cold. Well played, McKenna. Marry her to avoid scandal. Clever. But it doesn't change the debt. 9 days. Then I take everything. He walked away. Thomas turned to Catherine. He brought her here to humiliate us. To show the town. I know what he was doing. Catherine's voice was flat, tired. And it worked. Everyone saw. Everyone knows you were supposed to marry her. That you married me out of desperation. That's not, isn't it? She looked at him. Be honest, Thomas. If I didn't have the mortgage problem, would you have married me yesterday? Would you have rushed it? Thomas opened his mouth, closed it. I don't know. Maybe not yesterday, but eventually, yes. Eventually is not the same as yesterday. No, it's not. But yesterday is what we got, and I don't regret it. You will, when you lose your ranch, when your kids hate you for choosing me over their security. They don't hate you, they love you. Today, what about tomorrow, next week, when we're homeless and desperate, and it's all my fault? Thomas grabbed her shoulders, made her look at him. Stop. Stop doing this. Stop borrowing tomorrow's disasters. We have enough in today. Catherine pulled away. I need to be alone. She walked toward the barn. Thomas didn't follow, just stood there, watching her go, knowing she was right, knowing they'd rush this, knowing the consequences were coming, whether they were ready or not. Inside the barn, Catherine sat in the straw, put her head in her hands, cried. She'd survived so much, buried so much. And now she dragged Thomas and his kids into her disaster. They'd lose everything because of her. And she'd survived that too. She always survived. Sometimes survival felt like the cruelest punishment of all. Outside, the sun moved across the sky. 8 days left. Then the reckoning came, and Catherine had no idea how they'd survive it. She didn't come out of the barn until dark. When she did, Thomas was sitting on the porch steps, waiting. He didn't say anything, just stood, held out his hand. She took it. They walked inside together. The kids were already asleep. The house was quiet except for the clock ticking on the mantel. Each tick a second closer to losing everything. I talked to Dr. Porter, Thomas said. He's willing to testify about Blackwood. Testify to what? His wife. Eleanor. She didn't die of natural causes. Catherine turned to look at him. What are you saying? Laudanum overdose. Dr. Porter treated her for months before she died. Blackwood was difficult, controlling. Eleanor told the Porter things she was afraid to tell anyone else. You think Blackwood killed her? I think he made her life so miserable she wanted to die. Whether he gave her the laudanum or she took it herself, either way, he's responsible. Catherine sat down at the table. Her hands were shaking. If we use that, if we threaten him with it, he'll destroy us completely. You know that. He's already destroying us. Then he'll do it faster, meaner. Men like Blackwood don't back down when cornered. They attack. So what do we do? Roll over, let him take everything? I don't know. Her voice broke. I don't know how to fight someone who owns the town, owns the judge, owns everything. Thomas knelt beside her poem. We fight dirty. We fight mean. We use every weapon we have, even if it makes us just like him. We're nothing like him. He fights for power. We fight for survival. That's different. Catherine looked at her husband, this man she'd known for less than a month, married in desperation, chosen in hope. I'm scared we're going to lose. Me too, but I'd rather lose fighting than lose without trying. She nodded. Okay, talk to the Porter, see what he knows. But Thomas, if this goes wrong, if Blackwood comes after us harder, then we'll face it together. The next morning, Thomas rode to town. Catherine stayed home with the kids, tried to keep things normal, made breakfast, helped Emma with letters, watched Daniel practice his numbers. But the fear was there in every heartbeat, every breath. Around noon, a wagon pulled up. Catherine looked out the window, expected Blackwood, expected the church mob. Instead, she saw Dr. Porter, and behind him 3 other wagons, families she recognized. The Johnsons, the O'Malleys, the Hendersons, all ranchers, all people who'd kept to themselves, stayed out of town politics. Catherine stepped onto the porch. Dr. Porter, the old doctor, climbed down. Got something to show you. Can we use your barn? Of course. The families gathered in the barn, 12 adults, handful of kids. They stood in a semicircle facing Catherine. Patrick Johnson spoke first. Big man, weathered face, voice like gravel. We heard what happened with Blackwood, with the foreclosure. News travels fast. Small town. His wife Mary stepped forward. Small woman. Iron spine. We also heard about the church coming here. Abigail and her mob. Heard what they said to you. Catherine's jaw tightened. What they said was true. I am cursed. 5 dead babies. Dead husband. Everything I touch. Stop. Mary's voice was firm. I lost 3 babies before my son was born. Stillborn. All of them. Does that make me cursed? Catherine said nothing. It doesn't, Mary continued. It makes me a woman living on the frontier where half of all babies die before they're a year old, where infection kills strong men, where winters kill cattle and drought kills crops. And sometimes we all die, and there ain't no curse about it. It's just life. Benjamin Henderson stepped forward. My wife died in childbirth. Sarah. Best woman I ever knew. Town whispered I'd worked her too hard. Didn't get the doctor fast enough. Blamed me. He paused. They were wrong, just like they're wrong about you. Dr. Porter spoke up. Blackwood holds mortgages on half the ranches out here. Forecloses when he feels like it. Buys land cheap, resells high. He's been doing it for years. We've been too scared to fight back. But if you fight him, if you and Thomas stand up, we'll stand with you. Catherine's throat closed. You don't know what you're offering. Blackwood will come after all of you. Let him, Patrick said. We're tired of living scared. Mary pulled out a cloth bag, dropped it on a hay bale. It clinked. $300 from all of us. It's what you need for the mortgage, ain't it? Catherine stared at the bag. I can't take that. We need Blackwood to know he can't pick us off one by one. You and Thomas are the first ones to fight back. That makes you worth saving. But if I can't pay you back, then you can't. We'll survive. Benjamin's face was hard, kind. This ain't charity, Mrs. McKenna. This is war, and we're choosing sides. Catherine looked at the faces around her, at the people she'd thought hated her, judged her. Turns out they'd just been waiting for someone to throw the first punch. Thank you, she whispered. I don't know how to. Don't need thanks, just need you to keep fighting. They left one by one, wagons rolling back toward their own ranches, their own problems. But lighter somehow, united. Dr. Porter stayed behind. There's something else, something I need to tell you about Blackwood. Thomas mentioned about Eleanor. It's worse than he knows. Dr. Porter's face was grave. Eleanor came to me 2 weeks before she died, showed me bruises on her ribs, her arms, said Blackwood hit her when she argued, when she didn't obey fast enough. Catherine's hands clenched. Did you report it? To who Blackwood owns the sheriff, owns the judge. I documented it in my records, but I couldn't stop it. His voice cracked. She died 2 weeks later. Laudanum overdose. Official ruling was accidental. But Eleanor told me the day before she died. She said, if something happens to me, make sure people know it wasn't an accident. You think he killed her? I think he drove her to it. Same thing in my book. Dr. Porter pulled out a leather journal. These are my medical notes. Eleanor's appointments, her injuries, her words. If we need leverage against Blackwood, this is it. He'll come after you. I'm 73 years old. Wife's dead. No kids. What's he going to do to me that time won't do anyway? Porter smiled. Tired. Sometimes you get old enough that fear stops mattering. I'm there about this. Catherine took the journal, held it like the weapon it was. Thank you, Doc. Thank your husband. He's the one who asked me to dig up the past. I just kept good records. After Dr. Porter left, Catherine sat in the barn with the bag of money and the journal. $300, proof of abuse, 2 weapons that might save them or might get them all killed. Thomas came home at sunset, saw the pound, saw the journal, saw Catherine's face. They came. Patrick Johnson, Mary O'Malley, all of them, gave us the money. Thomas sat down hard on a hay bale. I can't believe they They're tired of Blackwood. We're just the excuse they needed to fight back. Did Porter? Catherine handed him the journal. Read. Thomas read. His face went pale, then red, then hard as stone. He beat her, drove her to suicide. Porter thinks so. We have to take this to the territorial judge. Show him what kind of man Blackwood is. The judge won't come for another week. We have 8 days until foreclosure. Then we stall. We take this to the town council tomorrow. Make them see. The town council is full of Blackwood's friends. Not all of them. Some are just scared. If we show them this, if we make them choose between Blackwood and justice, they'll choose Blackwood. He has power. We have paper. Thomas stood, started pacing. Then what do we do? Just wait. Just let him win. No. Catherine stood. We make him an offer. We give him the $300. Show him we can pay. Ask for an extension until the timber money comes in. He won't accept. Maybe not, but we try the peaceful way first. Then if he refuses, we use the journal. We threaten to make Eleanor's story public, to ruin him the way he's trying to ruin us. Thomas stopped pacing. That's blackmail. That's survival. They looked at each other, two people who'd never wanted to be fighters, who just wanted to live quiet lives, raise families, work the land. But the land didn't let you stay quiet. Neither did men like Victor Blackwood. Okay, Thomas said. Tomorrow morning, we go to the bank. We try it your way. If he refuses, we do it mine. That night, Catherine couldn't sleep. She lay beside Thomas, listening to him breathe, thinking about tomorrow, about confronting Blackwood, about the journal and what it meant. Eleanor Blackwood had been her age, had suffered alone, had died alone because no one fought for her. Catherine wouldn't let that happen again. Not to herself, not to anyone. Around midnight, Emma screamed. Catherine and Thomas bolted out of bed, ran to the kids' room. Emma was sitting up, crying. Daniel tried to comfort her, but she just kept crying. Sweetheart, what's wrong? Catherine knelt beside the bed. I had a bad dream. They took you away, the people from church. They said you were bad, and they took you, and Papa couldn't stop them. And I was alone again. Catherine pulled the little girl into her arms. I'm here. I'm not going anywhere. Promise. I promise. Mama Margaret promised too. Then she died. Thomas knelt beside them. Mama Catherine's not sick, Emma. She's strong. She's going to be here for a long time. What if Mr. Blackwood takes our house? Where will we go? Then we'll find another house. We'll build one if we have to, but we'll be together. That's what matters. Emma cried harder. I don't want to lose another mama. I can't. Catherine's heart broke clean open. She held the child tighter. You won't lose me. I promise you won't lose me. Daniel spoke up from his bed, voice quiet, scared. Pa, are we going to be okay? Thomas looked at his son, at his daughter, at his wife holding both of them. I don't know, son, but we're going to fight like hell to make sure we are. Can I help? I'm not little. I can help. I know you can. But this is grown-up fighting, the kind with lawyers and banks and mean words. You help by taking care of your sister, by being brave when she's scared. Can you do that? Yes, sir. They got Emma settled. Catherine sang her a lullaby, some Irish song her own mother had sung. Emma's breathing slowed, deepened, sleep. Catherine and Thomas went back to their room, lay down, didn't talk, just held hands in the dark. We can't lose, Catherine whispered. Those kids can't survive another loss. I know. So we do whatever it takes. We lie, we cheat, we blackmail, whatever keeps them safe. Agreed. They fell asleep like that. Two people who'd become parents and partners and fighters all in the span of a week. The weight of it crushing. The hope of it terrifying. Morning came cold and clear. Thomas hitched up the wagon. Catherine dressed in her best dress, the one she'd worn to marry Michael. Dark blue, respectable. You look beautiful, Thomas said. I look desperate. Same thing right now. They drove to town, left the kids with Mary O'Malley, who'd come over at dawn to watch them. The woman squeezed Catherine's hand. You fight. We're praying. The bank sat on Main Street, stone building, intimidating. built to last. Blackwood's office was on the second floor. They climbed the stairs. Each step felt like walking to an execution. Thomas knocked. "Come in." They entered. Blackwood sat behind a massive desk, papers spread before him. He looked up, smiled, cold as December. "Mr. and Mrs. McKenna, what a surprise." "We came to make a payment," Thomas said. He set the bag of money on the desk. $300, all we owe on Catherine's mortgage. Blackwood didn't touch the bag, just looked at it. "And where did this money come from?" "That's not your concern." "It is if it's borrowed. If you're taking on debt to pay debt, that's not a solution. That's desperation. It's not borrowed. It's a gift from friends." Blackwood laughed. "Friends? You have no friends in this town, McKenna. Everyone knows you married this woman out of obligation. Everyone knows she trapped you." Catherine spoke up. "I didn't trap anyone. We chose each other." Did you choose desperation? Did he choose scandal?" Blackwood leaned back in his chair. "It doesn't matter. I'm not accepting this payment." Thomas's hands clenched. The mortgage says payment in full within 30 days of demand, not 10. 30. I gave you 10 out of charity. Now I'm revoking that charity. You have 23 more days. That's not legal." "It's perfectly legal. Read the fine print." Blackwood pushed a document across the desk. "The lender has the right to extend or retract deadlines at will. I'm exercising that right." Thomas looked at the document, saw the clause, felt his stomach drop. "You're playing games," Catherine said, voice flat, dead. "I'm exercising my legal rights. There's a difference. Where's from? Why are you doing this? What did I ever do to you?" Blackwood stood, walked around the desk, stood too close to Catherine. "You rejected me. You humiliated me. You chose a broken-down rancher over a man of means and standing. That's what you did. So this is revenge. This is justice. You need to learn your place, Mrs. McKenna. Women like you, independent, proud, ungrateful. You need to be taught humility, and I'm a patient teacher." Thomas stepped between them. "Get away from my wife. Or what, you'll hit me, please do. Give me a reason to have you arrested. Give me a reason to take your children away for having a violent father." Thomas's fist shook. Every muscle wanted to swing, to break Blackwood's perfect teeth, to make him hurt. But Catherine touched his arm. "Don't. That's what he wants." She pulled out Dr. Porter's journal, set it on the desk. Eleanor kept records too, medical records, bruises, broken ribs, her own words describing what you did to her, how you beat her, how you drove her to suicide. Blackwood's face went white. That's lies. Eleanor was sick, fragile. She was abused. And if you don't extend our deadline, if you don't accept this payment, these records go to the territorial judge, to the newspaper, to every person in this town. Everyone will know what kind of man you are. You're bluffing. Try me." Catherine's voice was ice. "You took everything from Eleanor. You'll take nothing else from me." Blackwood picked up the journal, flipped through it. His hand shook. "This Doc Porter gave you this?" "He did, because he's tired of watching you destroy people." Blackwood set down the journal, sat down hard in his chair. For the first time, he looked old, scared. "What do you want?" "Accept the payment, extend the deadline to 60 days for the rest. When the timber money comes, we'll pay in full. Then we're done. No more threats, no more games. And then if I do this, you destroy those records. We keep them, insurance. But we don't share them unless you come after us again." Blackwood was silent for a long moment. Then he pulled out a receipt book, wrote quickly, signed, pushed it across the desk. "Payment accepted. 60-day extension granted. If you're late, I foreclose immediately. No appeals, no extensions." "Understood." They left, walked down the stairs, out onto the street, didn't speak until they were in the wagon driving away. Then Thomas pulled over, put his head in his hands, started shaking. Catherine put her arm around him. "It's okay. We won. We blackmailed a man, used his dead wife against him. How is that winning? Because we're still standing, because we have 60 more days. Because sometimes winning means doing terrible things to survive. I don't want to be that person. Neither do I, but I want to keep my family more than I want to stay clean. Don't you? Thomas looked at her. At this woman who'd become his wife, his partner, his conscience and his courage all at once. Yeah, I do. They drove home. Mary O'Malley was waiting with the kids. She took one look at their faces and smiled. You did it. We did it. Thank God. The others will be so relieved. After Mary left, the kids ran to them. Daniel hugged Thomas. Emma grabbed Catherine's hand. Are we safe now? Emma asked. For now, sweetheart. For now. That night they had dinner as a family. Real dinner. Pot roast Catherine had been cooking all day. Bread, butter, greens from the root cellar. They ate slow, talked, laughed a little, tried to pretend everything was normal. After dinner, Thomas took the kids outside to check on the cattle. Catherine washed dishes, stared out the window at her family. She'd bought them 60 days. 60 days to get the timber money. 60 days to figure out how to survive long term. 60 days to become the family they were pretending to be. It wasn't much, but it was something. Dr. Porter arrived just after dark. He looked tired, old. He sat at the kitchen table while Catherine poured him coffee. Blackwood came to see me, Dr. Porter said. After you left, threatened to ruin me, take my medical license, run me out of town. Catherine's stomach dropped. I'm sorry, I never meant to. Don't apologize for fighting back. Dr. Porter smiled. I told him to try and I'm too old to care and too mean to scare. He left. What did he say? That I'd regret crossing him. That no one defies Victor Blackwood and walks away clean. Dr. Porter sipped his coffee. I've been thinking about that. About Eleanor. About how I failed her. You didn't fail her. She was an adult. She made her choices. Choices made under duress ain't really choices. They're just different kinds of traps. He looked at Catherine. Don't let Thomas become like Blackwood. Don't let desperation turn him cruel. Thomas is scared. Scared men do desperate things. You've seen it. Hell, you married him out of desperation. Just make sure desperation doesn't become his default. Make sure you both remember why you are fighting. Not just survival, love, family, hope. Dr. Porter left. Catherine sat alone in the kitchen, thinking about his words, about desperation and cruelty and the thin line between them. She'd seen that line today in Blackwood's office, when she'd used Eleanor's pain as a weapon, when Thomas had almost hit Blackwood just to feel powerful. They'd won, but the cost was a piece of their souls. She wondered how many more pieces they could afford to lose before there was nothing left worth saving. Thomas came in, saw her face. What's wrong? Dr. Porter came by, warned me not to let desperation make us cruel. Too late for that. Maybe, or maybe we can still pull back, still fight without losing ourselves completely. Thomas sat beside her. How? I don't know, but we have to try. Because those kids, she gestured toward the bedroom where Daniel and Emma slept, they're watching us, learning from us. And if we teach them that survival means cruelty, that winning means destroying others, what kind of people will they become? Better than dead? Is surviving as monsters better than dying as humans? Thomas had no answer. Neither did Catherine. They sat in silence. Two people who'd crossed a line and couldn't uncross it. Who'd won a battle but lost a piece of themselves in the process. Outside, the Montana night was cold. Stars burned overhead like ice. Somewhere wolves howled. Somewhere cattle lowed. Somewhere life kept happening despite the darkness. Inside, Thomas and Catherine held hands, wondering if they'd made the right choice, knowing they'd make the same choice again if they had to, because that's what love meant on the frontier. Not grand gestures, not poetry, just choosing each other over and over, even when the choices turned dark, even when the cost was high, even when you weren't sure there was enough left of yourself to survive the choosing. The clock on the mantle ticked. 59 days left. 59 days to get the timber money, to pay off Blackwood, to become free. 59 days felt like forever, felt like nothing at all. But it was what they had, so they'd use every second, every choice, every weapon, and hoped that when it was over, they'd still recognize the people staring back from the mirror. The weeks passed slow. Every morning, Catherine woke expecting disaster. Every night, she went to bed grateful they'd survived another day. Thomas worked the ranch from dawn till dark, fixing fences, tending cattle, doing anything to keep his hands busy and his mind from counting down the days. 47 days left, then 40, then 35. The timber money didn't come. Catherine wrote to the company in Helena twice. No response. She rode into town to check at the post office. Nothing. The fear that had been living in her chest turned into something sharper, something that felt like knowing. They're not paying, she told Thomas one night. They sat at the kitchen table, papers spread between them. 3 months late. They're not paying. They have to. We had a contract. Contracts don't mean much when the company goes bankrupt. I heard talk in town. The timber mill closed. Too much competition from Oregon. They owe money to half the territory. Thomas's face went gray. So we're finished. We have 32 days to find $500 somewhere else, where we've borrowed from everyone who'd lend, used every favor, sold everything we can spare. Catherine looked at the mortgage papers, at the numbers that wouldn't change no matter how hard she stared at them. There's one thing left. What? My cabin, the land. We could sell it, fast sale, take whatever we can get. That's your home, your land, Michael's land. Michael's dead, Amameus. The land doesn't care who owns it. If we sell it, we might get enough to pay Blackwood. Might get to keep your ranch. Keep the kids home. Thomas reached across the table, took her hands. I won't ask you to do that. You're not asking, I'm offering. Catherine, what choice do we have? Lose both properties or lose one? I choose one. You hate giving up. You hate losing. I hate watching you lose more. She pulled her hands away, stood. I'll ride to town tomorrow, find a buyer. We have 32 days. Someone will take it for cheap. She walked to the bedroom, shut the door, sat on the edge of the bed and cried. Silent tears that tasted like failure. The cabin was all she had left of Michael, of the life they'd built, the babies they'd buried behind it. Selling it felt like erasing them, like saying they never mattered. But keeping it meant losing Thomas, losing Daniel and Emma, losing the family she'd accidentally built from desperation and hope. Some choices weren't really choices at all. Thomas came in an hour later, lay down beside her, didn't touch her, just lay there in the dark. I'm sorry, he said. For what? For dragging you into this, for marrying you when I knew it was a disaster, for being too proud to walk away before it got this bad. I'm not sorry. You should be. Well, I'm not. She rolled over, faced him. I'm angry, I'm scared, I'm exhausted, but I'm not sorry I married you. Those are different things. Are they? Yes, she touched his face. When this is over, when we lose everything or somehow win, I'll still be glad I chose you, even if it destroys me. That's what love is, choosing someone even when it costs everything. Thomas kissed her. Desperate, like a drowning man grabbing rope, she kissed him back, held him, let herself feel something other than fear for just a moment. They made love that night. Not gentle, not easy, just two people trying to prove they were still alive, still fighting, still together despite the world trying to tear them apart. Afterward, they lay tangled in sheets, Thomas's hand on her stomach, her head on his chest. Don't sell the cabin yet, he said. Give me 2 weeks. Let me try something first. What? I have an idea. It's desperate, might not work, but let me try. Thomas, 2 weeks. If it doesn't work, we sell. I promise. Catherine didn't ask what he was planning. Didn't want to know. Just nodded against his chest and tried to believe in miracles. The next morning, Thomas left before dawn, told the kids he had business in town, told Catherine he'd be back by supper, rode away on his best horse with saddlebags full of supplies. He didn't come back by supper. Catherine put the kids to bed, told them Papa was helping a neighbor, told them not to worry, lay awake all night listening for hoofbeats. Thomas came back 2 days later, covered in trail dust, exhausted, but his eyes were bright, alive. I went to Fort Benton, he said. Talked to the Army quartermaster. They need beef, a lot of it, for the winter supplies. You sold our cattle, half of them, got $800, enough to pay Blackwood and have money left over. Catherine stared at him. 800. How? I drove a hard bargain. Told them I'd deliver before the first snow. Told them our beef was the best in the territory. Might have exaggerated a little. Thomas, she grabbed his face, kissed him hard. You beautiful, crazy, wonderful man. It's not over yet. We have to deliver 40 head of cattle, 70 miles through mountain passes before winter hits. If we lose them, stampede wolves weather, we lose everything. When do we leave? We. He looked at her. You think I'm staying here while you drive cattle across Montana? Catherine, it's dangerous. The trail. I don't care. We're in this together. That means together. Not you risking your life while I wait and pray. Thomas looked at her, at this woman who'd become his partner in every sense, who wouldn't let him carry the weight alone. Okay, we leave in 3 days. Need to get the herd ready. Hire drovers if we can afford them. Patrick Johnson's boys, they'll work for cheap, and Mary's husband knows the trail. They spent the next 3 days preparing, sorting cattle, packing supplies, making arrangements for the kids. Daniel cried when they told him, not because he was so, because he wanted to come. I can help, Pa. I can ride. I can work. I know you can, son, but I need you here, taking care of your sister, being the man of the house while we're gone. Can you do that? Daniel straightened, tried to look older than 9. Yes, sir. Emma was quieter, just held on to Catherine's skirt. You're coming back, right, Mama? I'm coming back, I promise. Mama Margaret promised too. Catherine knelt, looked the little girl in the eyes. Your mama didn't choose to leave you. She died because birth is dangerous, and sometimes women don't survive. I'm not giving birth. I'm just driving cattle. And I'm strong and stubborn, and I will come back to you. Do you believe me? Emma searched her face, then nodded. I believe you. They left on a Tuesday morning, Thomas and Catherine, Patrick Johnson's 2 sons, Jack and Robert, both in their 20s, and Mary's husband, Duncan, who'd driven cattle to Fort Benton twice before and knew every river crossing and canyon pass. 40 head of cattle, 3 horses each, supplies for 2 weeks. The first 3 days were easy. Flat land, good weather, the cattle moved steady. They made good time. On the 4th day, they hit the mountains. The trail narrowed, rocky, steep. The cattle balked, didn't want to climb. Thomas and Duncan rode point, pushing them forward. Catherine and the Johnson boys rode flanks, keeping the herd together. By nightfall, they'd gone 5 miles. Should have been 15. At this rate, we'll never make it before snow, Duncan said. They sat around the campfire, eating jerky and hard bread, and once snow hits these passes, we're trapped. How long do we have? Thomas asked. Week, maybe 2 if we're lucky. But I can smell it coming, big storm, the kind that buries trails. Then we push harder tomorrow, start before dawn, keep moving till dark. They did, up at 4, moving by 5. The cattle were exhausted. 2 collapsed halfway up a steep pass, had to be left behind. Loss they couldn't afford, but couldn't prevent. Catherine rode till her legs went numb, till her back screamed, till she couldn't remember what it felt like not to hurt. But she didn't complain, just kept riding, kept pushing the herd forward. On the 7th day, they reached a river crossing. The river was high, fast, dangerous. We have to cross here, Duncan said. Next crossing's 30 miles north. We don't have time. It's too deep, Jack Johnson said. His younger brother Robert nodded agreement. Cattle will panic, drown. They'll drown or we'll lose everything waiting, Thomas said. We cross. They pushed the cattle into the water. The current was brutal, knocked 2 cows sideways. They struggled, bawled. Thomas spurred his horse into the river, grabbed 1 cow's horn, pulled. The animal followed. Catherine rode in after him. The water hit her horse chest high, cold as death. She grabbed the 2nd cow, pulled. Her horse stumbled. The current caught them. Everything went sideways. Water, skaish sound. She went under. The current spun her, smashed her against rocks. Her lungs burned. She couldn't find up, couldn't breathe. A hand grabbed her coat, hauled her up, Thomas, soaking wet, terrified. He jumped off his horse, swam to her, pulled her to shallow water. They collapsed on the bank, both coughing, both shaking. Don't ever do that again. Thomas gasped. Do what? Go under, disappear. I thought, his voice broke. I thought I lost you. I'm fine, just wet. You're not fine, you almost drowned. But I didn't, you saved me. She grabbed his face, made him look at her. I'm okay, Thomas. We're okay. Duncan rode up. We lost 3 cows. Rest made it across. We need to keep moving before we lose more light. They moved, soaking wet, freezing, but alive. That night they made camp in a canyon, built a big fire, dried their clothes, ate hot food for the first time in days. Catherine sat close to Thomas, shivering despite the fire. He wrapped a blanket around both of them. 37 cattle left, he said. Need 35 to meet the contract. No more losses. We'll make it. You don't know that? No, but I believe it. That's different. Duncan spoke up from across the fire. Storm's coming tomorrow or the next day. I can feel it. We need to make Fort Benton before it hits or we're finished. How far? 40 miles. 2 days if the weather holds, 4 if it doesn't. Then we make it in 2. They rode before dawn, pushed the cattle hard. Too hard. Another cow collapsed. Had to leave it. 36 cattle left. The sky turned gray, then dark. Wind picked up. Cold wind that smelled like snow. Storm's here, Duncan said. We need shelter. How far to the fort? 30 miles, John. Can we make it? Not before the storm hits. We need to hold up, wait it out. We don't have time to wait. We don't have a choice. This storm will kill us and the cattle if we're caught in the open. Thomas looked at Catherine, at her face, at the determination there despite the fear. What do you think? He asked. I think we didn't come this far to quit now. I think we pushed through. We could die. We could lose everything waiting. I'd rather die fighting. Thomas turned to Duncan. We pushed through. Duncan shook his head. You're both crazy, but okay, we push. The snow started an hour later, light at first, then heavier, then so thick they couldn't see 10 feet ahead. The cattle slowed, bunched together, scared. Catherine rode beside them, singing Irish songs her mother had taught her, nonsense words in a language she barely remembered. But the sound helped. The cattle calmed, kept moving. Her hands went numb, her face burned with cold. Ice formed in her eyelashes. She couldn't feel her feet in the stirrups. But she kept singing, kept riding. Beside her, Thomas rode like a man possessed, pushing, shouting, refusing to let the herd stop. Jack Johnson fell off his horse. Hypothermia. They got him back on, tied him in the saddle, kept moving. The snow got worse, complete whiteout. They couldn't see the trail, couldn't see each other, just followed Duncan, who rode point by memory and faith. 3 more cows dropped, froze where they fell. 33 cattle left. They were below contract. If they lost 2 more, they failed. Lost everything. Catherine prayed. First time in years. Prayed to God, to Michael, to Margaret, to anyone listening. Please, please let us make it. Please don't let these kids lose another parent. Please. The snow stopped at dawn. They stood on a ridge overlooking a valley. Below them, maybe 5 miles away, Fort Benton, smoke rising from chimneys, flags snapping in the wind. Civilization. They'd made it. Thomas started laughing, exhausted, relieved, crazy. We made it. Dear God, we actually made it. Catherine laughed too, then cried, then laughed again. 33 cattle. We're below contract. I'll negotiate. Tell them we lost some to Storm. Offer a discount. They need beef. They'll take what we have. They drove the herd down the ridge, into the fort. Soldiers came out to meet them. The quartermaster, a thin man with gray hair and sharp eyes, counted the cattle. Contract says 40 head. Storm took 7, Thomas said. I'll discount 20%. Give you 33 head for the price of 33. That's fair. The quartermaster looked at the cattle, at the frozen, exhausted drovers, at Catherine, who was still ice-crusted and shaking. You drove these through that storm? Yes, sir. That's either bravery or stupidity. Both probably. The quartermaster smiled. I like you. Contract accepted. 33 head at full price. You earned it. Full price, but where? You delivered before the deadline. Through a blizzard. That's worth something. Wait here, I'll get your payment. He came back 20 minutes later, handed Thomas a bank draft. $800. Thomas stared at the numbers, at the salvation written in ink. Thank you, sir. Thank your wife. Woman who will ride through hell for her family is worth keeping. They stayed at the fort one night. Hot food, warm beds, bath water, luxury they'd forgotten existed. Catherine soaked in a tin tub, letting the heat seep into her bones, thawing the cold that had settled so deep she thought it was permanent. Thomas came in, sat on the floor beside the tub. We did it. We did. I almost lost you in that river, and again in the storm. I kept thinking if something happens to you, if you die because I dragged you into this, stop. She reached out, touched his face. I chose this. I chose you. I chose to fight. Don't take that away by making it your burden alone. I love you. He said it simple, true, like breathing. I don't think I've said it enough, but I love you more than I thought I could love anyone again. Catherine reached out, touched his face. I love you too, even when I'm terrified, even when I'm angry, even when you're being impossibly stubborn. I love you. They kissed, then she pulled him into the tub. Clothes and all, they laughed like children, like people who'd forgotten how to laugh and just remembered. They rode home 4 days later, took it slow, stopped at every town to rest, to eat real food, to sleep in real beds. When they reached the ranch, Daniel and Emma ran out to meet them, threw themselves at Thomas and Catherine like they'd been gone years instead of weeks. You came back, Emma sobbed. You came back. I told you I would. Catherine held the little girl tight, breathed in the smell of her hair. I always keep my promises. That night they gathered at the kitchen table. Thomas laid out the bank draft, $800, salvation in paper form. Tomorrow we go to the bank, Thomas said. We pay Blackwood every dollar, then we're free. What if he won't accept it? Daniel asked. What if he tries to cheat again? Then we have witnesses, we have proof, and we have friends who will stand with us. He can't cheat us this time. We're too prepared. Catherine looked at her family, at the children who'd become hers, at the husband who'd become her partner, at the life they'd built from disaster. They'd survived, barely, at terrible cost, but they'd survived. Tomorrow they'd face Blackwood. Tomorrow they'd win or lose everything. But tonight they were together. They were home. They were alive. And that was enough. Morning came cold and bright. They dressed in their best clothes. Thomas in his Sunday suit, Catherine in her blue dress, Daniel and Emma in clean shirts and combed hair. They rode to town as a family, united. The bank was full when they arrived. Word had spread. The town knew this was the day. Pay or forfeit, win or lose, Patrick Johnson was there. Mary O'Malley, Dr. Porter, Benjamin Henderson, all the families who'd lent them money, all the people who'd chosen their side. And there was Blackwood, behind his desk, waiting. Thomas walked forward, laid the bank draft on the desk. $800, payment in full for Catherine's mortgage and mine, with interest. We're paid up, contract satisfied. Blackwood picked up the draft, examined it. His face was stone. This is from Fort Benton quartermaster. It is. We sold cattle, fulfilled a government contract, legal and binding. And you're certain you want to pay. Once I take this, you're out of tweeze, no reserves. One bad winter and you're finished. We'll take our chances. Blackwood looked at Catherine, at Thomas, at the family standing united, at the community backing them. He'd lost, and he knew it. Very well. He stamped the receipts, signed them, pushed them across the desk. Paid in full. Both properties clear. Congratulations, Mr. and Mrs. McKenna. You're free. They walked out into sunlight, free, clear, victorious. The community erupted in cheers. People crowded around them, shaking hands, offering congratulations, celebrating. Dr. Porter grabbed Thomas's hand, squeezed. You did it, son. Damn me, you actually did it. We did it. All of us. Mary O'Malley hugged Catherine. I'm proud of you, girl. Prouder than words can say. They drove home in the wagon, the kids between them, laughing, singing, free. That night, after the kids were asleep, Thomas and Catherine stood on the porch, looking out at their land, their home, their future. What do we do now? Catherine asked. Live, just live. Work the land, raise the kids, grow old together if we're lucky. Sounds boring. After the last 2 months, boring sounds perfect. She leaned against him. He put his arm around her. They stood like that as the stars came out, as the night turned cold, as the world kept spinning. They'd fought, they'd bled, they'd almost died, but they'd won. Not because they were stronger than Blackwood, not because they were smarter or richer or better. They'd won because they fought together, because they refused to give up, because love, messy, desperate, imperfect love, was stronger than fear, and that was worth everything. Winter came early that year. Snow fell the week after they paid Blackwood, blanketing the ranch in white that sparkled under pale sun. Thomas and Catherine worked from dawn till dark, preparing for the cold months ahead, splitting wood, storing food, reinforcing the barn against wind that could freeze cattle where they stood. But something had changed. The fear that had lived in Catherine's chest for months was gone, replaced by something she'd forgotten existed. Peace. Not happiness exactly, just the absence of terror. The ability to wake up without immediately counting days till disaster. It felt strange, foreign, like wearing someone else's skin. Daniel noticed first. He came into the kitchen one morning while Catherine was making breakfast, stood watching her for a long moment. You're different, Mama Catherine. She turned from the stove. Different how? You smile now, real smiles, not the scared kind. Catherine hadn't realized she'd been doing that, smiling scared. But hearing Daniel's name, it made something in her chest crack open. She knelt down, pulled him close. I'm not scared anymore, sweetheart. We're safe now. All of us. Promise? I promise. Daniel hugged her tight, then pulled back, looked at her with those two old eyes. I'm glad Papa married you, even when it was scary. Even when we almost lost everything. I'm glad. Me too, baby. Me too. That afternoon, Dr. Porter arrived, rode up on his old mare, medical bag strapped behind his saddle. Catherine met him on the porch. Someone's sick. No, just making rounds, checking on folks before the passes close. He climbed down stiffly. Also wanted to see how you were settling after everything. They sat on the porch. Catherine brought coffee. They drank in comfortable silence for a while. Blackwood left, Dr. Porter said finally. Took the train east 3 days ago, sold his bank holdings to a group from Helena, packed up and disappeared. Catherine felt nothing. No satisfaction, no relief, just emptiness where anger used to be. Good. He can't hurt anyone else here. He left something for you, Doctor. Porter pulled an envelope from his coat, asked me to deliver it, said it was an apology, for what it's worth. Catherine took the envelope, her name written in careful script on the front. She opened it. Inside was a single sheet of paper and a bank draft. The paper read, I loved Eleanor. I destroyed her. I tried to do the same to you. I'm sorry. This doesn't fix anything, but it's all I have left to give. VB. The bank draft was for $300, the exact amount the community had lent them. Catherine handed both to Dr. Porter. Give the money to Mary O'Malley. Tell her to distribute it to everyone who helped us. Tell them it's from us, not Blackwood. I don't want his guilt money. You sure $300 is? I'm sure. We pay our own debts, not with his blood money. Dr. Porter nodded, tucked the draft away. You're a hard woman, Catherine McKenna. I'm a woman who survived. That requires hard. Does it, or does surviving require knowing when to be hard and when to be soft? When to fight and when to forgive? Catherine looked at him, at this old man who delivered 5 dead babies, who documented abuse he couldn't stop, who'd carried guilt for failures that weren't his to carry. I'll never forgive him for Eleanor, for what he tried to do to us. But I don't have to. Forgiveness is optional. Survival isn't. Fair enough, Dr. Porter stood. I should get moving. Storm's coming tonight. Want to be home before it hits. After he left, Catherine sat alone on the porch, thinking about Blackwood, about Eleanor, about all the ways people destroyed each other and themselves. She didn't forgive him, probably never would, but she couldn't let go of the anger, could stop letting his shadow darken her life. That evening, the whole family gathered in the kitchen. Thomas had spent the day building something in the barn, wouldn't tell anyone what, just said it was a surprise. After supper, he blindfolded Daniel and Emma, led them outside. Catherine followed. Curious, Thomas had built a sled, beautiful thing, curved runners, smooth wood, big enough for both kids. For you, he said, for being brave, for trusting Mama Catherine and me, for surviving all the scary parts. Emma screamed with joy. Daniel grinned so wide his face might split. They dragged the sled to the nearest hill, spent the next hour racing down the slope, laughing, falling, racing again. Catherine stood beside Thomas, watching their children play, feeling something so big in her chest she couldn't name it. Thank you, she said. For what? For them, for this, for giving me a family when I thought I'd never have one. Thomas pulled her close. You gave us more. You gave us someone to fight for, someone worth surviving for. That's everything. That night after the kids were asleep, Catherine and Thomas lay in bed. The house creaked in the wind. Snow tapped against the windows. But inside was warm, safe. I want to do something, Catherine said. Something important. What? I want to go back to my cabin, to the graves, say goodbye properly, then sell the land. Use the money to help other women. Women like Eleanor. Women trapped with no way out. Thomas was quiet for a moment. That's a big thing, a good thing, but are you sure you're ready to let it go, to let the memories? Yes, the memories, no, but I can carry the memories without holding on to the place. Michael would understand. He'd want the land to do some good. When do you want to go? Tomorrow, before the next storm. Will you come with me? Always. They rode out at dawn, left the kids with Mary O'Malley, took the wagon because Catherine wanted to bring things back. Personal things she'd left behind when she married Thomas in desperation. The cabin looked smaller than she remembered, lonelier. Snow covered the roof and porch. The door hung crooked. One window was broken. Catherine stood in front of it for a long time, just looking, remembering. You want to go in? Thomas asked. No, I want to go to the graves first. They walked around back, through deep snow, to the small cemetery Catherine had made. 6 graves, 5 tiny ones in a row, one larger one set apart. Michael Hayes, 1842 to 1876. Beloved husband. The 5 tiny graves had no markers, just smooth stones. She'd been too broken to carve names after the last one, too defeated to memorialize children who'd never breathed. Catherine knelt in the snow, placed her hand on Michael's stone. It was cold, smooth, real in a way grief never was. I got married, she said out loud, to a good man. Thomas McKenna. He has 2 kids, Daniel and Emma. They call me Mama now. I think you'd like them. I think you'd like him. The wind blew. Snow swirled. Michael didn't answer. Dead men never did. I'm selling the cabin, using the money to help women who need it. I think that's what you'd want. You always said the land should work for people, not the other way around. She touched each tiny grave one by one. Thomas, Michael Jr., Catherine, Sarah, James. I'm sorry I couldn't save you. Sorry I couldn't be the mother you needed. But I'm not cursed. I know that now. You died because frontier life is hard, and babies die, and sometimes there's no reason. No curse. Just terrible luck. She stood, turned to Thomas. I'm ready. You sure? I'm sure. This is a graveyard, not a shrine. I can honor them without living here. They went inside the cabin. Catherine gathered her things. A few books, her mother's wedding ring, the box with the baby clothes, Michael's mining helmet. Everything else could stay, could burn or rot or become home to mice. It didn't matter. The past was the past. As they loaded the wagon, a rider appeared. Young man Catherine didn't recognize. He pulled up, looked at the cabin. This place for sale. Catherine blinked. How did you heard in town? Der Porter said you might be selling. I'm looking for land. Got a wife and baby living in a boarding house, desperate for our own place. You have money. Some, not much, but I'm a hard worker. I can pay in installments if you'll let me. Catherine looked at Thomas. He nodded. What's your name? She asked. Henry Walsh. You married Henry? Yes, ma'am. Wife's name is Alice. Baby's name is Rose. Rose still alive? He looked confused. Yes, ma'am. 6 months old. Healthy as a horse. Catherine felt tears coming. Pushed them down. Good, that's good. The cabin's yours. $50 down. Rest when you can pay it. No interest. No deadline. Just take care of the place. That's more than fair, ma'am. Thank you. And Henry? Yes, ma'am. Those graves out back, they stay. You maintain them, keep them clear. That's part of the deal. Yes, ma'am, I will. They rode away. Catherine didn't look back. Couldn't. If she looked back, she might change her mind. Might realize she was giving away the only piece of Michael she had left. But forward was better than back. Living was better than haunting. And those graves would be tended by a family who knew how precious life was. That mattered. They got home at dusk. The kids ran out to meet them. Emma grabbed Catherine's hand. Did you cry? A little, but happy tears too. How can tears be happy and sad? Because people are complicated, sweetheart. We can feel two things at once. Sad about what's gone, happy about what's here. That made sense to Emma in the way only 6-year-olds could understand. She nodded solemnly. Okay, I'm glad you're home. Me too, baby. Christmas came 2 weeks later. The first Christmas Catherine had celebrated in 3 years. She'd spent the past 2 alone in her cabin, refusing joy, refusing hope, refusing everything except survival. But this year was different. This year she had family. This year she had a reason to celebrate. They didn't have much money. Most of it went to supplies and feed for the cattle. But Thomas carved toys, a horse for Daniel, a doll for Emma. Catherine sewed clothes, a new shirt for Thomas, dresses for the kids. Christmas morning was chaos. The kids screamed with joy, played with their toys till they broke them, then played with them broken, ate too much, laughed too loud, filled the house with noise and life. Catherine watched from the kitchen, overwhelmed, grateful, terrified she'd wake up and discover it was all a dream. Thomas found her there, wrapped his arms around her from behind. You okay? I'm scared. Of what? Of losing this, of something happening, of bond or fate or whatever deciding I've been happy long enough and taking it all away. That's not how it works. Isn't it? I was happy with Michael. Lost him. I was happy pregnant. Lost all 5 babies. Every time I find something good, it gets ripped away. Thomas turned her around, made her look at him. Or every time you lost something, you survived, built something new, found a way forward. Maybe that's the pattern, not loss, survival, endurance, becoming stronger every time. I don't want to be strong. I want to be happy. Then be happy right now, in this moment. Don't borrow tomorrow's pain. Just be here. With me. With them. Be happy. Catherine closed her eyes, breathed, let herself feel the warmth, the noise, the life happening all around her. Okay, she whispered. I'll try. That afternoon there was a knock on the door. Catherine opened it, found Abigail Marsh standing there. The woman looked uncomfortable, scared, holding a basket covered with cloth. Mrs. McKenna, may I come in? Catherine wanted to say no, wanted to slam the door, but something in Abigail's face stopped her. Vulnerability, shame. Come in. They sat at the kitchen table. Thomas took the kids outside to play in the snow. Give them privacy. Abigail set down the basket. I brought bread and preserves. For Christmas. Thank you. I also came to apologize for the things I said, the things I did, bringing the church to your home, judging you, all of it. I was wrong. Catherine said nothing, just waited. I was married once. Abigail continued. Long time ago. Back east. He drank, hit me, I left, ran away in the night, came here to start over. The town never knew. I built a reputation as a proper woman, a moral woman, but inside I was terrified someone would find out, would see the truth, that I was a woman who'd failed at marriage, who'd abandoned her husband. You didn't abandon him. You escaped. I know that now. But then I thought I was cursed, broken. So I judged everyone else, made myself feel better by tearing others down. You reminded me of myself, strong, independent, refusing to break. I hated you because I hated that part of me. Catherine looked at this woman who'd been her enemy, saw the pain there, the regret. I forgive you, she said. Simple, true. The gal's eyes filled with tears. Just like that. Just like that, life's too short for grudges, too hard for more enemies. You want to start over. We start over. Thank you, Abigail stood. I should go, but if you ever need anything, if you ever want to talk, I'm here. After she left, Thomas came back inside. What was that about redemption? Hers or yours? I'm not sure. Does it matter? No, I guess it doesn't. The winter passed slow, cold days and colder nights, but the house was warm, full, the kids grew, Daniel shot up 3 inches, Emma learned to read. Both of them thrived in ways they hadn't before. And one morning in late February, Catherine woke up sick, stomach churning, head spinning. She barely made it outside before she vomited. Thomas found her on the porch, pale, shaking. You okay? I don't know, I feel. She stopped, counted backwards, realized. Oh God. What? I'm late, I'm 3 weeks late. Thomas's face went pale. You think, I don't know, maybe. I've been late before. It doesn't always mean. She couldn't finish, couldn't say the word. Pregnant. She'd been pregnant 5 times, lost all 5. Couldn't survive a 6th loss. Couldn't bear to hope. We should see Dr. Porter, Thomas said. Get you checked. No, not yet. I can't. If he confirms it and I lose it again. Catherine, please give me a few weeks. Let me be sure before we make it real. Thomas pulled her close. She could feel his heart racing, feel his fear matching hers. 2 weeks later, there was no denying it. The sickness got worse. Her breasts swelled. She was pregnant. Definitely. Terrifyingly. She told Thomas on a Sunday morning after the kids left for their writing lesson with Patrick Johnson. Just said it. Flat. No emotion. No hope. I'm pregnant. Thomas froze, then grabbed her, held her so tight she couldn't breathe. A baby. We're having a baby. I might lose it. I lost all the others. This one might, or this one might live. You're stronger now. You're not alone. You're not starving or working yourself to death or bleeding out alone in a cabin. You have help. You have me. You have Dr. Porter. This time is different. What if it's not? Then we'll survive it together. But what if it is different? What if this baby lives? What if we get to hold them and raise them and watch them grow? Isn't that possibility worth the risk? Catherine wanted to believe him, wanted to hope, but hope was terrifying. Hope was dangerous. Still she nodded. Okay, we try. We hope. And if I lose it, we'll grieve together, but we won't give up before we've even started. Dr. Porter confirmed it 2 days later, examined her thoroughly, asked about her history, the 5 losses, the causes if she knew them. You're about 8 weeks along, he said. Baby's heartbeat is strong, everything looks good. But I want to see you every 2 weeks, monitor closely, make sure you rest, eat well, don't work yourself ragged. I have a ranch to run. You have a husband to run the ranch. You have kids who can do chores. Your job now is to grow this baby. Understand? She understood, but understanding and obeying were different things. The months passed in a blur of fear and wonder. Her belly grew. The baby moved, kicked. Real in a way the others had never become. They'd all died before the quickening, before she could feel them move. But this one was alive, active, fighting to exist. Daniel and Emma were thrilled, argued over names, argued over whether it would be a boy or girl, made plans for teaching the baby to ride and read and catch fish. Catherine let them plan. Let herself imagine a future where this baby lived, where she got to be a mother to a living child. It was the hardest thing she'd ever done, Harder than burying 5 babies. Harder than losing Michael. Harder than fighting Blackwood. Hoping was hardest of all. She went into labor on a September morning, early, 2 weeks before Dr. Porter expected. The pain hit fast and hard. No warning, just agony that doubled her over. Thomas got her to bed, sent Daniel for Dr. Porter, sent Emma to Mary O'Malley, then sat beside Catherine, holding her hand while she screamed. Dr. Porter arrived within an hour, examined her. His face was grave. "Baby's coming now, no time to wait." Will it? "I don't know, Catherine. Baby's early, but not too early. We just have to see." The labor lasted 6 hours. Brutal hours. Catherine screamed, cursed, begged God to let this one live. Just this one. "Please," Thomas held her hand through all of it. Let her squeeze till his bones creaked. Whispered encouragement. Prayed out loud when she couldn't. And then finally the baby came. In a rush of fluid and blood and pain. Silence. Terrible silence. Catherine's heart stopped. Not again. Please God, not again. Then a cry. Thin, weak, but real. A baby's cry. Dr. Porter held up the baby, tiny, red, screaming. "It's a girl, and she's alive." Catherine sobbed. Great heaving sobs that shook her whole body. Thomas cried too, just held Catherine and cried like a child. Dr. Porter cleaned the baby, wrapped her, placed her in Catherine's arms. "She's small, but she's strong, got good lung, good color. I think she's going to make it." Catherine looked at the tiny face, at the eyes that couldn't focus yet, at the impossibly small fingers wrapped around her thumb. "Hope," she whispered. "Her name is Hope." Thomas touched the baby's head. "Hope Catherine McKenna." "Catherine, for you." "No." Catherine's throat closed. "Hayes, Hope Catherine Hayes, for Michael. He'd want that." Thomas's eyes filled. Yeah, he would. They sat there for a long time. Just the three of them. A family that shouldn't exist. That had fought and bled and survived against all odds. Hope fell asleep in Catherine's arms. Thomas leaned his head against Catherine's shoulder. Outside, the Montana sky turned gold, then pink, then purple as the sun set. Dr. Porter packed his instruments. "I'll check on you tomorrow. But Catherine, you did it. You grew a living baby. You're not cursed. Never were." After he left, Daniel and Emma came home. Mary O'Malley brought them. They stood in the doorway, wide-eyed, scared to come closer. "Come meet your sister," Thomas said. They crept forward, looked at the tiny bundle. "She's so small," Daniel whispered. "She'll grow, just like you did." "What's her name?" Emma asked. "Hope." Emma smiled. "That's perfect, because we hoped for her." And she came. That night, the whole family slept in one room. Thomas and Catherine in bed with Hope between them. Daniel and Emma on bedrolls nearby, and all of them together. Safe. Whole. Catherine lay awake long after everyone else slept, watching Hope breathe, counting each tiny breath, terrified she'd stop. But she didn't stop, just kept breathing, kept living, kept proving that sometimes miracles happened. Sometimes hope wasn't foolish. Sometimes survival meant more than just enduring. Sometimes it meant thriving. The years ahead would be hard. They'd face droughts and winters and all the challenges frontier life threw at families. But they'd face them together. Thomas and Catherine, Daniel and Emma, baby Hope. A family built from loss and desperation and stubborn, foolish hope. And that was worth everything. 3 days after Hope was born, a letter arrived. Official seal from the territorial government. Thomas opened it at the kitchen table while Catherine nursed the baby. He read. His face went pale. "What is it?" Catherine asked. "It's about Blackwood." Thomas's voice was tight. "He's dead." "What?" "Died in Chicago 2 weeks ago. The letter's from his lawyer, settling his estate." Thomas kept reading. His eyes widened. "Catherine, he left us something." "What?" "Money, a lot of money, $20,000. The room spun. "That's not possible." "There's a note." Thomas unfolded a second page. Read aloud. "To Thomas and Catherine McKenna. What I tried to take from you through cruelty, I returned through guilt. Eleanor would have wanted this. She would have wanted you to serve it. to thrive, to prove that love can win even when power fails. Use this to build something good. Use this to help others the way you helped each other. I destroyed one woman. Don't let my money destroy you. Victor Blackwood. Catherine couldn't breathe. $20,000. It's enough to expand the ranch, buy more cattle, help other families. Everything we dreamed about. Or it's blood money, Eleanor's blood, our near destruction. Thomas set down the letter, looked at Catherine, at the baby in her arms, at the life they'd built. What do we do? Catherine thought about Eleanor, about the journal, about all the women who suffered in silence, about the families the community had saved by standing together. We take it, she said, but we don't keep it, not all of it. We use some to secure the ranch, make sure we're stable. Then we use the rest to help others. Women escaping bad situations, families facing foreclosure, people who need what we needed. A chance, Thomas smiled, Manoa, proud. Eleanor would like that. Yeah, I think she would. That night after the kids were asleep, Catherine sat on the porch, holding hope, looking at the stars. Thomas came out, sat beside her. You know what I realized today, Catherine said. What? I spent so many years thinking I was cursed, thinking everything I loved would be taken from me. And I was wrong. I wasn't cursed. I was just unlucky. And then my luck changed. The day I found you dying in the snow, the day I chose to help instead of walk away. That's when everything shifted. Thomas took her hand. I found you too. We found each other. Yeah, we did. They sat in silence. The baby slept between them. The stars wheeled overhead. The world kept turning. Inside, Daniel and Emma dreamed of sister tea parties and teaching Hope to ride. Outside, Montana stretched vast and wild and beautiful, full of danger, full of possibility. And on the porch, two survivors held hands, having fought their way through hell to find something that looked like heaven. It wasn't perfect. It was hard-won, scarred, built from broken pieces that didn't quite fit together right. But it was theirs, their family, their home, their hope. And in the end, maybe that was the only kind of heaven worth having. The kind you had to fight for. The kind that cost everything and gave back more than you knew existed. Catherine looked at Thomas, at the man she'd married in desperation and loved in triumph. You know what the best part is? What? We get to do this every day for the rest of our lives. We get to wake up together, fight together, raise these kids together, grow old together. That's the victory, not the money, not defeating Blackwood. Just this, every ordinary day. Boring sounds good now. Boring sounds perfect. Thomas leaned over, kissed her, soft, gentle. A promise that had been tested and tempered and proven true. Baby Hope stirred, made a small sound, settled back into sleep. And in that moment, Catherine knew with absolute certainty, she wasn't cursed, she was blessed. Not because nothing bad had happened, but because when everything bad happened, she'd survived, fought, kept going, found love on the other side of loss. That was the real miracle. Not that Hope had lived, though that was miracle enough, but that Catherine had lived, through 5 deaths, through Michael's murder, through Blackwood's cruelty, through river crossings and blizzards and all the times she'd wanted to give up. She'd lived, and living she'd found this moment, this family, this impossible, beautiful, hard-won peace. The wind picked up, carried the smell of pine and snow and wood smoke. Somewhere in the distance, a wolf howled, not threatening, just singing to the moon. Catherine closed her eyes, held her baby, held her husband's hand, and for the first time in years, maybe the first time ever, she felt complete. Not perfect, not healed. The scars were still there, the ghost still whispered in quiet moments, but complete, whole enough to be happy, broken enough to be real. Thank you, she whispered, to Thomas, to God, to the universe, to Michael and Eleanor and all the dead who'd paved the way for this moment with their blood and sacrifice. For what? Thomas asked. For not giving up on me, for fighting for me, for loving me even when I was too scared to love back. You fought for me too. You saved my life. More than once. Then, we're even. No. Thomas squeezed her hand. We're partners. That's different. Better. Catherine smiled. Yeah, it is. They sat until full dark came, until the cold drove them inside, until hope needed feeding and the kids needed tucking in and life pulled them back into its ordinary rhythms. But Catherine carried that moment with her, that perfect, fragile, hard-won piece, tucked it away like a treasure, pulled it out on hard days when the fear came back, when the memories threatened to drown her. And somehow, impossibly, it was enough. The story could have ended there, with peace found, with family secured, with hope, both the emotion and the baby alive and thriving. But life doesn't end with one victory, doesn't stop with one moment of grace. Life keeps going, keeps testing, keeps throwing obstacles and joys and sorrows in equal measure. And Thomas and Catherine, they kept going too, kept fighting, kept loving, kept building something that mattered. They used Blackwood's money to expand the ranch, bought more cattle, hired hands, built a second barn. And then, true to their word, they used the rest to help others. They established a fund, called it the Eleanor Blackwood Memorial, for women escaping dangerous situations, for families facing foreclosure, for anyone who needed what they'd needed, a chance, a fight, a way forward. Dr. Porter administered it. Mary O'Malley helped screen applicants. Patrick Johnson provided legal advice. The whole community that had saved them came together to save others. Word spread. People came from all over the territory. Some they could help, some they couldn't. But they tried. Every single time they tried. Daniel grew up strong and kind, became a doctor like Dr. Porter, spent his life delivering babies and mending broken bodies and remembering what it meant to be saved. Emma grew up fierce and brilliant, became a teacher, taught children to read and write and think for themselves. Never forgot the woman who taught her that being strong wasn't the same as being unbreakable. And Hope grew up loved, grew up knowing she was a miracle, grew up with parents who'd fought hell to bring her into the world and siblings who'd teach her everything they knew. She grew up on stories, stories of a widow and a widower who'd found each other in the snow, who'd fought a cruel man in a crueler winter and their own fears and won. Not perfectly, not cleanly, but won nonetheless. She grew up believing in the power of ordinary people to do extraordinary things, in the strength of love to overcome hate, in the possibility of hope even in the darkest moments. And when she was old enough to understand, Catherine took her to the cabin, to the graves, showed her the 5 tiny markers. These were my babies before you, Catherine said, your brothers and sisters who never got to live. I loved them. I mourned them. But I survived them. And surviving them led me to you. Do you still miss them? Hope asked. She was 7. Old enough to understand loss, but young enough to believe in happy endings. Every day, but not in a sad way anymore. In a grateful way. Because they're part of my story. Part of what made me strong enough to fight for you. I wish I could have met them. Me too, baby. Me too. They stood there together, mother and daughter, alive because of luck and stubbornness and love that refused to quit. And in that moment, Catherine understood. Understood what she'd been too broken to see before. The 5 babies weren't punishments, weren't curses. They were just babies, born into a world that wasn't ready for them, into a body that couldn't hold them. It wasn't her fault, wasn't God's judgment, wasn't anything except terrible random tragedy, and surviving it, surviving them. That wasn't weakness. That was the strongest thing she'd ever done. Thomas came up behind them, put his arms around both of them. You two ready to head home? Yeah. Catherine leaned into him. We're ready. They rode back together, the 3 of them, through Montana wilderness that was still wild, still dangerous, still beautiful. And when they crested the hill and saw the ranch below, smoke rising from the chimney, cattle grazing in the fields, Daniel and Emma working in the yard, Catherine felt it again. That peace, that completeness, that sense of having fought through hell and found something worth keeping on the other side. This is it, she said. This is what we fought for. Was it worth it? Thomas asked. Catherine looked at him, at hope, at the life they'd built from ruins. Every single second. They rode down the hill, toward home, toward family, toward whatever came next, because that's what survivors do. They keep going, keep fighting, keep hoping. Even when it's hard, especially when it's hard, they keep going. And sometimes if they're lucky and stubborn and brave enough to love, despite the fear, sometimes they get to keep what they fought for. Sometimes hope wins. Sometimes love is enough. Sometimes the broken people get to be whole again. Not perfect, never perfect, but whole enough. And in the end, maybe that's the only happy ending worth having. The one you have to fight for. The one that costs everything. The one that gives back more than you knew was possible.